Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Donna Just Being Real. My channel is all about dating, love, relationships, and toxic relationships advice channel. And I use trials, I use news articles, all kind of varieties of things that's dealing with relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alright, so we're back to this again. And we're back to Dusty Lowlife. Let me turn this down a little bit. We're back here with Dusty Lowlife Nathaniel Rowland trial. Closing arguments. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting down to the end. So we're going to be showing the closing arguments. And then after the closing arguments, let me see if I have it up here. Okay. Just give me a second here. Alright, after we show the closing arguments, we're going to show the verdict. But we just focus on the closing arguments today. Alright, so we're going to hear what the defense has to say. Well, first we're going to start with the prosecution. We're going to hear what the prosecution has to say. Then we're going to shoot on over to the defense and hear what the defense have to say. What a joke. But oh well, he deserves to have a lawyer. You know, you're innocent until proven guilty, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. All right. So we're going to start this now. When I do start, I just have to let you know. Everybody make sure you hit the like button. Share the video, to your social media. Check out some of my past commentary, especially my animation, all my videos. Just check them out. Feel free. Check the cards on here. Check the end scenes. Just in case if you kind of like, missed the beginning of the trial, you're just popping in now and hear, about this trial. Okay, and make sure you vote, because I want to know if anybody's interested in this Alex Murdaugh thing, if you want me to show that or not. So make sure you vote. All right, so we're going to get into this one. So I'm going to be kind of silent, but I might share my little thoughts and opinions now and then, but we're going to watch this. Now, what we do over here is we put on a faster speed. Yes, we do. We're going to go on a faster speed. No, wait a minute. Hold up. I rewind. This video right here, I'm not going to do a faster speed. Not this one. Not this video right here. All right, let me just greet people that's coming in here real quick. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Donna Just Being Real. Make sure you hit the like. And also in the chat, let me know, everybody, if you can hear me clearly. I should have asked that before. I think you should be able to hear me clearly. But just let me know in the chat. All right. Melvia and hugs and kisses to you. Yes, you have to remind us. That's right here. BG in the house. Mod on deck. Greetings. Popping in and out. Donna, gotcha. Thank you for the purple hearts. And Lisa, my dear, blessings to you. Pauline is in the house. Good evening. All right, so make sure. Ooh, do I see somebody just creep through the back door? I haven't seen in a minute. And a happy new year and blessings to you. Blessings to you. Good to see you. Hugs and kisses to you. Hopefully your holidays was good and everything. Alrighty. Anybody else up in here? Okay, we're gonna get into this. Let's get into this trial. I don't want to hold you up much longer. This is gonna be kind of a long night. Alright. Let's get to the first one. Let's get it. Can everybody hear me good? Alright, sound is good. Good. Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get back into this one. Now this trial we're getting back into is Dusty Lowlife Nathaniel Rowland trial. Now we're dealing with the closing arguments. Let's get it.
Ms. Pennick.
Thank you, Robert. Please support. At this time, the defense rests.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the defense has rested. That means you have heard all of the evidence in this case. What we have remaining is the closing arguments by the lawyers, my jury instructions, and then your deliberations. Due to the time of day and the projected length of some of these things, we're going to give you the good news of stopping for the day. We are going to adjourn for the day and start back at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Please do not discuss the case. Please do not allow anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. Please do not get exposed to anything in connection with this case through the media. And we'll see you all tomorrow morning at 9:30.
know that Samantha Josephson and her friends went out Thursday, March 28, 2019. We know that they
Okay, now the closing argument has started. So we're starting with the prosecution, correct? So what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to pick up the speed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to tackle tonight. So I'm going to do it on 1.5. So hopefully you can catch up on it. Now, on your end, if it's too fast for you, you can definitely change your speed, make it to normal speed, 1.25, whatever you like that's comfortable for you. But here, we're going to do 1.5. So you can always change the speed on your end, okay? Now, let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. Resume.
hung out at the hub, they had some drinks, and they went downtown. We know that she missed Craig. She missed her boyfriend. He didn't live in the same town anymore. He lived down in the Charleston area, 2 hours away. They didn't see each other as much as they had when he was at school before he graduated. But they talked. They talked all the time. And they talked throughout that night, and she was begging him to come visit. But they had plans that weekend, and so he stayed in the Charleston area. So as the night wore on, she wanted to go home. That's all she wanted to do. She wanted to go home, but she never got that chance. She tried to do it right. You heard from Marcus Williams, the Uber driver. He came in and told you that he got a call, and they missed each other. And that happens from time to time. They just missed each other. He had to cancel the ride. She tried to do it the right way. What she didn't know was that the defendant's 2017 black Chevy Impala, and it is Nathaniel Rowland's black Chevy Impala, was circling, waiting, lurking, multiple U-turns throughout 5 Points, as you saw Mr. Martin talk about yesterday, driving the wrong way down Saluda Avenue, mere minutes before the abduction. And what happens just a few minutes after that? As Samantha Josephson is standing on this corner, all alone, what do you see happening? The Chevy Impala, Nathaniel Rowland's Impala, comes driving by as she's standing by herself, circling, lurking, like a shark. Not only does he see her that time as he drives right by her, just 2 minutes later, at 2:08, as he approaches again, she is still by herself, as he's coming right at her and can see her right in front of him. Pulls into the parking lot, immediately turns around, and as soon as these cars come out of the way, he starts to make his move. Now, an interesting thing about this video, the silver car. As you recall, this silver car comes around, Miss Josephson tries to get in it. She thinks that's Marcus Williams. She thinks that's her Uber. Right here. And as she approaches that car, where's Nathaniel Rowland's car? Right there. Right in his line of sight. Again, looking right at her, trying to get into a vehicle. Seeing that she can't because it's the wrong car. Seeing that she is confused. And he's lurking. And he's waiting. As the car pulls up, right here, what do you see? She looks back at him. Right there. She looks back at him. They see each other. He knows she's just trying to get in the car. She looks at the car. Again, this must be the car, she's thinking. So what the other? Oh, here's a black car. This has got to be it. She looks. Look at that video for yourselves. There is one person in that car. And there is a seat, a driver's seat, reclined back. You can see it through the silhouette of the back window. What does he do next? He gets so excited that the opportunity has finally presented itself, and he jumps the curb. He's been driving around for 15 minutes, pulled four U-turns, driven down the wrong way of the road, and he jumps the curb because there she is. And she gets in the car. What happens next? What does a shark do when it catches its prey? Take the victim below the surface. Out of 5 Points. Out of view. To a familiar place. Where the carnage can't be seen. And only to resurface later when the coast is seemingly clear. After this video, she was never seen alive again. For 20 minutes or so after this, when his phone moves, her phone moves. That was the testimony you heard from the phone experts. Their phones were in the same locations at virtually the same. 5 Points, her phone. Towers in 5 Points, his phone. Again, moving away from Hardin Street. Towards Rosewood, her phone, his phone. Now we're in the Rosewood area, which we know that his sister lives in the Rosewood area, near Hemphill. Her phone, his phone. Until ultimately, her phone can no longer be tracked in the area of South Eye and Montgomery. And you heard testimony from both Greg and Tegan that corroborates that. They were trying to track her themselves. on the Find My Friend app. And they did track her until South out in Montgomery, just a few blocks away from where Mr. Rowland's sister lives, in Rosewood. And her phone stopped. He drove to an area he was familiar with, the Rosewood area. You heard from Destiny Catino. She told you about how his sister lived in that area, and she'd been over there with him. After riding around generally in the area for a while, what does he do next? What would he do next? Find another familiar place. And he finally comes to it. Drives to a familiar place. New Zion, where his parents lived just down the road from where the body was found. And again, corroborated. His phone in the area of where the body was located at between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. Let's talk about this crime scene for a minute. This was a straight body dump. An attempt to get rid of the most incriminating evidence against him. There were no signs that the crime occurred there. No blood anywhere other than on her body. Her clothes, all of these clothes, soaked in blood. Her blood. Her shoe. Broken, bloody, torn, just like her. This was a remote area, farmland, fields, a few houses. It's off the main road. You heard from Mr. Lee, the hunter. You heard from Mr. Bubba, the DNR officer. You heard from Investigator Huffman. This is off the main road. You got to go on 2 dirt roads to get here. This isn't even really a road. Everybody keeps calling it a farmer's access road because they don't even know what else to call it. And she's in the woods, removed from that road, surrounded by brush. And the testimony in this courtroom was that no one would go there if they weren't a local. They wouldn't even know how to find it. They wouldn't even know how to get there. Mr. Bubba told you that he's lived in that area his whole life, 60 years, and that he's been a DNR agent for 26 years. And that in 26 years of patrolling that area, which is about a mile from his house, he has never seen anyone in that area who wasn't a local. And he lived a mile from the crime scene, a mile from the body. And who lived across the street from him? Who did you know? Who did he tell you lived across the street? The Rowland family. Destiny Catino told you that she'd been to New Zion with Nathaniel Rowland to the family home as well, several times. Investigator Huckabee, he told you about how Clarendon County responded, and ultimately SLED takes over the investigation. But he also told you something else interesting. He said they canvassed the area, they tried to see if any witnesses saw anything, nobody saw anything. But what else did he do? He went up to the mini mart. They went to the store a couple miles away, closest business around, and they checked the video from there. And they couldn't tell what was on the video. They saw some cars, the video was not of good quality, and they couldn't tell whose car or what car it was. But I'll tell you this, if someone was looking for a good place to get rid of a body, it's a pretty good spot. Not near a main road, hard to find, brush. Think about this. Andrew Lee, the man who came in here and told you that he found the body, what did he tell you? He told you that he and his friend Brian went hunting earlier that morning. They went to a different location. They went up in Turbyville, miles away first. And why'd they leave there? They didn't find anything. They didn't see anything that they were hunting for. If they had been successful in Turbyville and found what they were looking for, whatever they were hunting, turkeys, there is no telling when or if Samantha would have ever been found. Let's talk about phones for a minute. You heard a lot of testimony from Agent Dove and Mr. Grafsky about the phones in this case. And they told you just about everything you could possibly want to know about how cell phones work. More importantly, they told you about Mr. Rowland's phone and Ms. Josephson's phones tracking together as they leave 5 points, as I've talked about earlier. And again, they tell you about it going to Mountain Brook, not Mountain Brook, Rosewood, where her phone tracked, consistent with the Find My Friend tracking that Greg and Tina did. They then track his phone back all the way to Sumter, through Sumter to New Zion, and then back to Columbia. This was from the defendant's Verizon iPhone. They couldn't get GPS location on it because they couldn't get in the phone. It was passcode protected. But Agent Grafsky, or Mr. Grafsky now, he told you about tower data. And while that phone didn't have minutes on it, he couldn't make phone calls on it, he could use Wi-Fi. And what did Grafsky tell you? When there's Wi-Fi, your phone's bouncing on those towers. Your phone and that tower, they're talking. Whether you're using the phone or not, it's talking. And it's tracking. And it tracked him from Columbia up 378 through Sumter to the area where the body was found, and then right back through Sumter. Except this time, there was a stop in Sumter. Daniel Rowland's phone number, Broad Street, Sumter. Oops. Fraud Street, Sumter, Nathaniel Rowland's phone. We know that it tracked to that area. What time? 5:45 a.m. What happens at 5:45 a.m.? The ATM in Sumter, 5:47 a.m., Samantha Josephson's car is attempting to be accessed. Unsuccessfully, mind you. But pay attention to what the person's wearing. The leather jacket. Just like the leather jacket found in his car. The gloves on his hand. Just like the gloves found at Mountain Brook. One in the laundry, one in the trash. The drawstrings. The Nike hoodie with the drawstrings. You can see the drawstrings right there. The white string. Those are everywhere in this case. You heard testimony about him wearing that Nike shirt with the drawstring before and after, Thursday and Friday. He had been wearing that for days. The dark pants. There was a long tan shirt sticking out from underneath the clothes that was found in the Mountain Brook trash. And then, of course, the red and black slides. The next ATM. Again, now we're in Columbia. 6:52 a.m. Here. ATM. Columbia, Hampton Hills. 6:48. Same time frame. Again, trying to access our card. What do you see on the face this time? It's a little different this time. This time there's something covering it. It looks like dollar bills. The money bandana. The bandana that he was wearing when he got pulled over on Saluda Avenue 24 hours later. Same one that Destiny Catino said that he had seen. The same one that she had seen him wear before. He then tracks back, the phone record's tracking back to Mountain Brook, where he stays for a while, through Columbia, taking her to work, taking Maria to work, back to Mountain Brook for rest, and then the phone tracks out to Cellular City, Monticello Road, that Mr. Williams, Austin Williams, told you about, as Mr. Rowland, whom he identified, came in and tried to sell a phone. But in between there, as I mentioned, he's at Mountain Brook. Maria Howard's residence. So let's talk about Maria for a few minutes. And let's think about that word I told you earlier about credibility. What's something that you can use to help judge credibility? That's corroboration. How do we know that Maria is being truthful? She told you that she had met Mr. Rowland in 5 Points years earlier. That he always talked about 5 Points. He said it was lit, like a place to have a good time. Destiny Catino also told you that she had been 5 Points with Mr. Rowland. Two different people. Two different people telling you that they'd been 5 Points with him. She also told you that she was trying to evict her roommate. This letter was found in Mr. Rowland's Impala. This is the eviction letter that Maria Howard gave to her roommate. It references on it 7525 Mountain Brook Drive, Unit C. What else did she tell you? She tells you that Thursday night, before they go to bed, he's wearing the Nike hoodie with the drawstrings and the dark pants. That's corroborated. We know he wears that because you see him on video at the Wendy's the next day. You see him on video at the Cellular City the next day wearing the exact same clothes. She tells you that she goes to bed about 1:30. And then we know from the phone records that not long after that, his phone was on the move from Mountain Brook to 5 Points. And then she told you that she woke up, get ready for work, and where was he? Where was Nathaniel? He wasn't there. She got up, she looked around. She had said that he went to sleep down on the couch downstairs. She went downstairs, she looked around, she looked in the bathroom, he wasn't there. How do we know that? How can we corroborate her story that she looked for him and he wasn't there when she woke up? The text message to Nate, the 862 number, at 5:31 a.m., 0531, WYA, where you at? Would she have texted him, where you at, if he was somewhere in her house at that point in time, at 5:30 in the morning, where he was supposed to be? She follows it up because she doesn't like being late for work. She told you that. 7:01 a.m., text message to Nate. Babe, I am late as F for work. And she told you that he was late coming back to the house to pick her up. That's corroboration of her story. When he finally shows up that morning late, again, he's wearing the same clothes. The Nike hoodie with the drawstrings, the dark pants. She's upset. She can't find her work visor from McDonald's. Right? She can't find her visor. She asked him about it because she knows she left it in the Impala. She told you she put it in the back window because she didn't want to forget it going to work. She put it in the back window of the Impala. She asked him about it, and what does he say about it? He says, it's in the country. In the country. News Island. Why is it in the country? Well, it had blood on it, he said. She asked him, she pressed him, why is there blood? Why is there blood on my visor? He won't tell her. Mind your business, he says. And we know that the visor is eventually found in the Impala, in the trunk, with blood on it. And you'll have that back there in the jury room with you. She tells you that once she discovers that there's blood in the car, she also sees that a sheet has been placed in the car, a white sheet with blue markings on it and blood on it, covering, she describes very particularly, it covers the headrest, the driver's headrest, and then back into the back seat. If you look closely at this Wendy's video, you can play this in the jury room. There's a white sheet covering the headrest and going into the back seat of that car as he goes through the drive-thru. Cellular City.
You know what? This is, yeah. Let's get back to it. I know I always have something to say about them. And where are they? Oh, there you go. The parents. You see all this evidence? you don't think your son did it, right? Yeah, okay. Let's get back to it.
That's the view from the Cellular City parking lot, 11:17, 11:19 a.m., Friday the 29th. What do you see in the back seat? The white sheet. Corroboration of her story. And when she asked him about it, when she asked him about the blood throughout the morning, when they stopped at the convenience store on the way there, on the way to work, mind your business. Now, she was asked, why would you ride with him knowing there's blood in the car? And she told you that she didn't feel like
This monster told her to mind her business. Wow. Reason.
she had a choice. She had to get to work, and that was her only way to work. And she testified she relied on rides from other people to and from work. She got a daughter, got to pay the bills. She had to go to work. And that was corroborated by the text that she sent that she was going to be late for work. When they stopped at that gas station on the way to work, she gave him money for gas. She told you that. Is it a coincidence that at 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning, he needed gas? After just driving all around Columbia for like 45 minutes, and then all the way to New Zion, and all the way back to Columbia. She also told you that he looked tired. Again, is that a coincidence? He'd been up all night, driving, stressing, trying to figure out how to cover this up. Friday afternoon, he fails to show up and pick her up from work. So she gets a ride, and she gets back to the house, to Mountain Brook, and what'd she tell you she did? She said she banged on the door like the police, is what she said. And then when he came to the door, he looked shook, like he'd seen ghosts. And then he appeared as though he'd been sleeping. And she was upset. She was upset because he was wearing the same clothes. The Nike shirt with the drawstrings. The same clothes. And she talked about how nasty those clothes were. Now he needed to clean himself up. And why was he in her bed? That's corroborated. When law enforcement went to Mountain Brook and they collected the evidence, they collected a pillowcase that had a spot on it that appeared to be a spot of blood. She then tells you about how she had to drive his car to go get money because she felt like she had no choice. She had to pay the rent. She had to take care of her daughter. Her concern was her daughter, even if that meant driving that car with whatever was in it. It's not like she didn't try to find out what happened in the car. She asked him about it repeatedly, and he wouldn't tell her. Interestingly enough, when she drives the car, she tells you that she had to pull the seat up, the recline, because he likes to keep it laid back. Just like you saw on that video when he was eyeballing Samantha Josephson on the corner. When that seat was leaned back, she had to pull it up so that she could drive it. She talks about how he puts on blue plastic gloves and he starts cleaning the car. He's wiping down the car and then he pulls this out. And he starts wiping it down, cleaning it right there in front of her. You think she wasn't afraid of what might happen? Them sitting there holding this knife, blood all over the car, read it, and he's cleaning it. She said she had seen it before, but she hadn't seen it open like that. And if you recall, she's not the only one who's seen it before. Or at least something like it. Destiny Catino got out there and she told you that she's seen him with a knife like that one before. What did he tell her when she asked? Mind your business. Again. She finds this rose gold iPhone in the car, asks him about that. Whose phone is this? Why, it's clearly a female phone. Whose phone is that? And he blows her off, says he found it. She sees him at various points of the day putting wipes and grocery bags. He's in and out of the house. He's back and forth from the car to the trash at Mountain Brook, which later, in the trash, as you know, wipes, gloves, bloody clothes, bloody bags, bloody toilet paper rolls, bloody paper towels, bloody towels, all found in the trash in Mountain Brook. And then after all that, he goes back to 5 Points, where he's pulled over, literally, blue lighted, a block from the bird dog. It wasn't until Maria saw the news about the missing girl, and on the news the next day, where not only they talked about Samantha, but they put a picture of the black Impala up. And that's when the light bulb went off for her. It made sense to her then. But she was scared. Her priority is her daughter. She had just been in a car with him, 2 feet away, with him cleaning a knife. This knife. You think she felt comfortable about telling anyone or anything at that point? No. Her concern's her daughter. No matter what she said to him, no matter how many times she asked him, he would never say what happened in that car or where the blood came from. So I ask you this. When your girlfriend repeatedly asks you, why is there blood in your car? And if you really, truly didn't know where it came from, and you truly were scared about how all this blood got in your car, What's the more reasonable response to that question? Is it to tell her, I don't know, baby, I don't know how it got there, and I'm scared, and I don't know what to do? Or his response of, mind your business? What's the more reasonable response to that situation? Heard testimony about the traffic stop the next night, about 24 hours later. Officer Kraft came in here and he told you that there was a bolo out for the Impala. Be on the lookout for a black Impala, newer model. And again, about a block away, he initiates blue lights and starts the traffic stop. And what happens on that traffic stop? What does the Impala do after the blue lights have been activated? Where does he go? He goes to turn and pull over. He goes to Saluda Avenue. And he turns down the wrong way on the one-way street again. Again. Initially, as Kraft approaches him, he's cooperative. He approaches the vehicle, asks him what he's been up to. He smells marijuana. Ask him about marijuana. And Mr. Rowland is what? He's cooperative. He says, yeah, I was smoking earlier. Freely answering those questions at that time. Then the conversation changed. And when the conversation changed, Mr. Rowland changed. As soon as Kraft said the magic words, everything changed.
What's going on, sir? Here, let's see. Almost scratch. Let me do some K9. No, no license on you. What up? All right, man. Who's smoking the marijuana? All right, man. You got to step on out, man. All right, here's the deal, man. I pulled your car over because it matches the suspect. Get your hand in your pocket. What?
I pulled your car over because it matched the suspect. He didn't even get to finish his sentence before Mr. Rowland was trying to figure out, how do I get out of this now? He was cooperative until that moment when the word suspect.
All right, man. You got to step on out, man.
And then he had no choice in his mind, I guess. Take off running.
All right, here's the deal, man. I pulled your car over because it matches the suspect. Get your hand in your pocket. What are you, crazy? Get over here. Hey, get over here. Go and run. Hey, release the dog.
They eventually catch him, as you know. He's checked out by EMS, no injuries, and taken into custody. An initial search of the vehicle, his vehicle, what do they find? Samantha Josephson's phone. Right next to him, between the seat and the center console. Blood all over the car. Blood on his shoe. The trinket or necklace thing hanging down from the rearview mirror. Same one on the video at Cellular City. The seat leaned back. Again. Seat leaned back in 5 points. Right when Ms. Josephson's about to be picked up. Right there. Traffic stop. This is through the rear window. Seat leaned back. Because that's how he drives his car. Some of you might be thinking, how could anyone be calm enough? How could anyone be calm enough to drive for hours with blood and or a dead girl in the back of your car? How do you not freak out when your girlfriend keeps asking you about all this blood? How could anyone go back to 5 points, a block away from where this?
Only type of person that could do something like that is clearly a psychopath. No emotions, no nothing. They could do that. They don't have a problem. They'll just keep going and going. They don't care. Resume.
This happened and not be nervous that they get caught? Well, the answer is you got to be somebody who's capable of handling pressure, right? State's Exhibit 193. This is Mr. Rowland's personnel file from the FedEx where he worked, where Destiny Catino told you she met him. In his file, on his resume, skills profile, ability to remain calm and focus under extreme pressure and circumstances. Extreme pressure? We are literally talking about somebody trying to get away with murder. It doesn't get more pressure than that. And he himself has told you that he's prepared for that. The other reason, he thought he had gotten rid of all the evidence at this point, right? I mean, at this point of the traffic stop, 24 hours later, he's already tried to clean the car with wipes and bleach that's found in the car. He threw away the knife that's in the trash at Mountain Brook. He threw away his bloody clothes. He threw away the bloody sheet that was in the back. All of that stuff's in the trash at Mountain Brook. But what he failed to consider was that he was driving around in the actual crime scene. And at that point, though, think about what he knew. He didn't know that law enforcement was looking for an Impala. At best, he only knew they were looking for some girl who was missing. They certainly didn't think that they were going to be looking for the girl who was in the passenger seat of his car who doesn't look anything like Samantha Josephson. Missing white female versus black female in the passenger seat. He thought he was good to go. But it's the clothes. It keeps coming back to the clothes. The clothes link him up to virtually every part of this case. The Impala, the ATM, Mountain Brook, Cellular City, the trash. These drawstrings, these Nike drawstrings. These drawstrings. Keeps coming back. They keep showing up. The dark pants, you see those in the ATM and at Cellular City. Drawstrings, drawstrings. Clearly Nate Rowland, identified by Mr. Williams as the person trying to sell the phone. Here's an ATM photo. What do you see sticking out below that jacket? That's a long, light-colored shirt. And what's found in the trash at Mountain Brook? I'm sorry, here's the pants. There's a long, light-colored shirt. And look what's found in the trash. A long, light-colored shirt. And what does it have on it? A whole bunch of blood. Keeps coming back to the clothes. The gloves. This person is wearing gloves. Nathaniel Rowland is wearing gloves. And what do we find? 2 gloves at Mountain Brook, one in the house, and this one in the trash, with a discoloration, consistent with having been touched by bleach. The bleach was found in his car. The jacket at the ATM, the same jacket found in his car. What did we learn about that jacket? There were striations, marks consistent with possible claw marks or scratch marks found in that jacket. The sides. Oh, the sides. These sides. Look at that ATM picture. Red and black slides. Red and black slides taken out of the trunk and collected as evidence. So, the bandana, right? The bandana. Look at that ATM photo. Dollar bills.
And the parents don't think he did it. Do you see all this evidence? Oh, I gotta roast these parents. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get back to it.
All over the ATM footage. The second time, when he realized he didn't have to hold his hand up here because he had the bandana that he always has, and he could use that to cover his face. So he did. The same bandana he's wearing at the traffic stop, Officer Kraft. The same bandana they take off of him that night. And of course, the toboggan or beanie, black with red writing, there at Cellular City, we found in the back of his car. So the question is, why not throw it all away? Why did he only throw some of it away? The Nike hoodie, the dark pants, you gotta get rid of those. He's seen wearing those on Thursday, he's seen wearing them Friday, he's been wearing them for like 3 days, gotta ditch those. No question. The tan shirt, we just saw it soaked in blood, can't keep that around. The gloves, one of them's got some sort of weird discoloration on it, the other one has blood on it. What about the jacket? Why didn't he get rid of the jacket? It's a dark jacket, folks. It's hard to see blood on that. But not only that, there is no way that he knew the significance of that jacket. There is no way that he knew that Lieutenant Shank would be able to come in here and tell you that those marks on that jacket were consistent with somebody clawing or scratching. No way he knew about those striations. What about the slides or the beanie or the bandana? Why not get rid of those? Simple. There's no visible blood on those things. No visible blood. But there was DNA on it. Samantha Josephson's DNA is on this beanie. And there was blood. Samantha Josephson's blood, her blood, is on this. But he couldn't see it. So he didn't think he had to get rid of it. You heard about Mountain Brook and all the evidence found in the trash there, where he tried to erase the evidence. There's the bleach, the wipes, the cleaners, the bloody clothes, the knife. Even the trash from his meal that he got at Wendy's was there, mixed in with everything else. And he dumped it all in the trash at Mountain Brook. Why did he do that? Well, he's not going to put it in the trash at his sister's house. He's not going to put it in the trash at his family's house in New Zion. And he's especially not going to do that when he doesn't think that there is any connection whatsoever between him and Mountain Brook. But what he wasn't counting on was that eviction letter. Remember the eviction letter that you saw earlier that Maria Howard wrote and left in his car? It had the Mountain Brook address on it. That is the only connection. That is the only way that anybody even knew to go look at the trash in Mountain Brook. If that hadn't been found, that trash never would have been found. The knife, the clothes, the wipes, the bleach, all that stuff would have been gone. It would have been gone. Cellular City. Again, this is video out front. Again, the trinket thing hanging down. What do you see in the back, as I mentioned earlier? White sheet. You remember Oshmer told you that Mr. Rowland had to go back out and get, I think, a SIM tray is what he called it, to go with Ms. Josephson's phone. What do you see here? Mr. Rowland looking for it. He's rooting around looking for it. He's got to look under the sheet. And you'll also see here again, those drawstrings, they appear again. Right there. He's digging around, trying to look under that sheet in the back, looking over on the side. You heard a lot of testimony over the last week about forensic analysis that was done in this case. Investigator Hudak talked to you about his efforts to try and get the information from the infotainment system of the Impala. Couldn't do it. Got an error message. Sent it off to the manufacturer of the software to try and get that location information from the car's infotainment system. Didn't work. Error message. The other interesting thing he told you is that the car appeared as though it had been had some sort of work done on it. And that's corroborated. Destiny Tina told you that she actually hit a deer guy in this car some months prior. You heard about the phones, again, at great length. And I'm not going to go back through all the tower detail at this point, but I do need to point out to you the Alcatel phone that Mr. Rowland had. This is the phone that Maria texted when she said, "Where are you at?" And what were you told about that? That phone cannot be accessed for usage without somebody knowing the passcode. It has to be unlocked. It was set to lock every 30 minutes. And the testimony was that there was keypad activity on the Alcatel at 2:58, and it's set to lock after 30 minutes. But what happens over an hour and a half later at 4:36 a.m.? There's action on that phone, on the internet. Trending porn video of the day. The only way that can happen is for somebody to have unlocked the phone. That somebody is Nathaniel Rowland. You heard a lengthy testimony from the DNA analyst, Agent Dwayne. She told you a lot. She told you a lot. She told you about blood and how it can overpower touch DNA. And she told you that Samantha Josephson's blood was on everything. It was all over that car. The back seats, the headrests, both sides, the back of the seats, the center consoles, the roof, the front, the seat belt buckle receiver. The blood was everywhere. She told you that her blood was on the Nike hoodie with the drawstrings. It was on his pants. It was on his money bandana. Her blood was on his sock, his shoe. It was on the black jacket. It's on the tan shirt. It's on the glove found in the laundry basket, the blue plastic gloves, the trash, the Yankee Candle bag. It was on Maria's daughter's shoe. It was also, Samantha's blood was on that envelope with that list, that weird list. And let's not forget that her blood was on the blade of this weapon, the one that he was seen cleaning in the car. Her blood, well, that's not the only DNA found on that thing, actually. Nathaniel Rowland's DNA was included as part of the mixture on the handles of this weapon, the murder weapon. It was included by way of two different methodologies you heard about, included in the mixture. His DNA on the handle. Samantha's DNA is also found on the cold-blooded beanie. It's on one of the red and black slides, and it's under Nathaniel Rowland's fingernails. In addition to the handle of the murder weapon, Mr. Rowland's DNA is on the Nike shirt, the pants, the blue plastic gloves, the beanie, the slides, the money bandana, and all over the inside of that car. So let's think about a few of the things that Agent Dwayne told you in addition to those results. She told you about how wearing long sleeves and gloves can decrease the likelihood of somebody leaving their DNA profile on another person. She told you that just because somebody is excluded from a profile, that doesn't mean they haven't ever touched, worn, or used that item. So the black jacket, for example, or my jacket. I think I even asked her, if I gave her my jacket, would my DNA be all over this jacket? And she said no, not necessarily. And then I asked her about these unrelated, unidentified individuals. And she told you that those profiles could have been left at any time by any person at any point that person has ever come in contact with almost any item, is essentially what she said. Any person that's come in contact with any item can leave their DNA behind, whether it's the assembly line worker, whether it's the sales clerk, it could be the guy who actually made the car, it could be the guy who fixed the car, and we know that the Impala had work on it because Destiny told you that. Anybody, any one of those people could leave their DNA in there at any point in time, and you can't put a time on it. And that all those profiles aren't necessarily the same person. They could be hundreds of people. Can't say. You heard from the handwriting expert, and he told you that he took Mr. Rowland's FedEx personnel file and his Capital Waste personnel file. And he looked at those records and you can look at it for yourself. When you're in dirt room, there's handwritten stuff all over. And he looked at that and he said, yep, the same person filled out both of those applications. And then he compared that to the list. This list. And he told you that there was a high degree of likelihood that the person that wrote those applications wrote this list. Duct tape, gloves, all black, flip phone, gasoline, matches. What else is important about that list? Nathaniel Rowland's fingerprint is on that list. Samantha Josephson's blood is on that list. He references duct tape There's duct tape somewhere over here that's got his prints on it. Nathaniel Rowland's prints on duct tape, just like on that list. But you look at them for yourself. You decide if you think he wrote it, even though Mr. Jameson told you that it's highly likely. So you heard about his prints on the list, you heard about his prints on the duct tape from the fingerprint analyst, but what else did she tell you? What's the last thing she told you about? Footprint. Samantha Josephson's footprints were on the window of Nathaniel Rowland's Impala, the inside. This was her cry for help. This was her way to try to get somebody to help her and save her from him. But also, what it did, she left a trail. She left her own trail of evidence. Her own trail leading right to the defendant. You heard from the trace guy who talked about bleach and how there's all these items in the car consistent with bleach, and that the bleach smells like chlorine, which interestingly is what Maria told you, that the car smelled like chlorine. And finally, the final expert you heard from was Dr. Bieber yesterday. And you all remember that testimony. He told you about the wounds that she sustained, over 100 wounds all over her body. He went through some of the pictures with you. He described in graphic detail what happened to her. He talked about
100 wounds. He stabbed her 100 times. That's just pure evil. Possessed with the devil. Resume.
about the blood loss, that there's over a gallon of blood in the body and there's just about this much left by the time she was found. He told you about this knife, and he told you they were trying to figure out what kind of weapon could have caused these injuries. You have pictures there, you look at them yourself. These weird parallel wounds, just like these two blades. And he told you that this is the unique weapon that did it. It's not just unique because it's got the two blades that are parallel, because he was confused. He said that they're single stab wounds too. Well, this one really is a multi-tool. Single stab wounds, parallel stab wounds. Nathaniel Rowland's knife is the one that killed Samantha Josephson. I'm about to wrap up. The defense is going to have an opportunity to talk to you in just a minute. A couple things I want to cover before I finish. Let's talk about common sense. You take your common sense in that jury room with you, and you use it when you look at this evidence and apply it as though the law tells you. Despite all of the evidence that has been presented to you that points squarely at Mr. Rowland, is there another theory that's supported by credible evidence about who could have done this? Use your common sense. Think. You would have to believe that not only did some other person kill Samantha Josephson, but that person was wearing Nathaniel Rowland's hoodie with the drawstrings, his pants, his money bandana, and his slides. You would also have to believe that this other person drove Nathaniel Rowland's car, used Nathaniel Rowland's knife, and had possession of Nathaniel Rowland's phone. Even if you believed all that, you would still have to believe that this other person drove on March 29th in the early morning hours to New Zion, of all places, in the middle of nowhere. And when they were there, that this person figured out a way to get into Nathaniel Rowland's passcode protected phone to look at a porn site? Of all the places in the world to dump a body, this person would have just picked a random secluded spot about a mile away from the Rowland house. If that's not enough, then you would have to believe that this person somehow found a way to get Nathaniel Rowland's Chevy Impala back to him without anybody knowing. And a 12th thing, as I'm told that the number 12 is important in this case, a 12th thing that you would have to believe. Whoever was driving the Impala on the 29th just so happened to drive down the wrong way of Saluda Avenue, the same road that Nathaniel Rowland turned the wrong way down on 24 hours later. Two people driving the Impala just happened to turn down the wrong way of the same road 24 hours apart? Is it reasonable to believe any of that? No. It makes no sense. Zero. The defense has tried to draw your attention to everything except the evidence that points to Mr. Rowland. He didn't have any scratches or marks on him. Well, he did. They were on the jacket. striations. None of his DNA was found on her body. He's wearing long sleeves. He's wearing gloves. That decreases the likelihood of shedding or sweating or the passing of DNA cells. Her earring wasn't found. Her ATM card wasn't found. Her purse wasn't found in the car. Those things were of no value to him. He tried to use the card. It didn't work. He tried to use it in Sumter and Columbia, and it didn't work. He doesn't need that anymore. But the phone, her phone, that was valuable to him. He tried to sell it because he needed money because he didn't have a job. He tried to sell it. When he couldn't sell it, it was still a value to him. That's what Maria told you. Maria told you that when she asked him about the phone, he told her that he was going to try to give it to her and try and get it reworked so that she could use it. They might say to you that there's no defects in any of the seats in the Impala, so how could all these stabbings occur in such a confined space? Dr. Bieber told you that the crime occurred where all the blood is, and all the blood is in Nathaniel Rowland's car. Is it reasonable to think that this crime occurred anywhere other than in his car? You heard testimony about a significant bloodletting, was the term used by the crime scene agent. A significant bloodletting that occurred in that car. I appreciate your attention. I'm just about to conclude. What have the themes been that we've discussed? I told you at the beginning of this closing argument that it was your job, take all the little pieces, all the facts, all of the evidence as it's presented to you, put it together, and use your common sense. Use your common sense to see a clear picture of what happened March 29, 2019. The clothing, talked about that ad nauseum. Where the body was found, a mile from his house. All of the videos showing the Impala driving around, her getting in the car. Mountain Brook, all the trash that's found there, the blood, the knife, all the things tying him to that location. The forensic analysis of the phones, the fingerprints, the handwriting, the autopsy. When the smoke is cleared, the picture comes clearly into focus. A clear picture of what happened, and there is only one reasonable conclusion that you can make when you clear up that picture. That conclusion is Nathaniel Rowland is guilty. I told you before, Samantha's whole life was right there. It was right there in front of her. She could have been anything that she wanted to be. And it was right there for the taking. To do whatever she wanted. The defendant did the taking. He took her from 5 points. He took her life. And he took the time to try to erase all the evidence. To try to erase her. Samantha Josephson deserved the chance to live her life. And this man, the defendant, Nathaniel Rowland, he took that chance from her. It was malicious, it was intentional, and it was cold-blooded. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of South Carolina humbly asks that upon consideration of all the evidence, you return a verdict and you find Nathaniel Rowland guilty of murder, guilty of kidnapping, and guilty of possessing a weapon. Thank you.
And I will add too, guilty for being born. Yep, shouldn't have been born. You're a big mistake. Okay, now we're going to start getting into defense. Defense has something to say. All right, what did Pauline says here? Definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to send you to the jury room for a break of about 10 minutes. Please do not discuss the case in the jury room during the break.
Let me skip here.
So we're selected.
Give me just a second, because some of this I can fast forward. Okay, let me read what Pauline says. Definitely he's the devil. Best friend, that amount of stabs. He enjoyed it. Yes, he did. Disturbing to hear. I can't imagine how her family and friends having to hear how her last moments were. I pray for her family. This is heartbreaking, because they was in court every day. Let me show you a picture of the family, and we're gonna get into the what defense have to say. Where they at? Yeah. Every day had to hear this. He had to hear about his baby girl, his daughter. You know, she gave life to her daughter, and this man, this monster, this Dusty, took it away. Yep. She lost her sister, her best friend, person she can go to and talk about anything, her sibling. But this Dusty lowlife took that away. May you burn in hell. Yes, I said it. All right, now let's hear what defense have to say. Let's get into defense. Let's hear their closing arguments. Interesting. Let's get it.
Please, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good morning. Nathaniel Rowland did not have a mark on him. Not a cut, not a bruise. They checked him, and nothing. The unidentified people that the state wants to just brush off like they're no big deal, they do matter.
Like I said, repeating to anybody who might be coming in, it's on speed 1.5. If it's too fast for you, you could slow it down on your end. Okay? Resume.
DNA evidence does matter. If it didn't, we wouldn't spend an entire afternoon of this trial talking about it. So you cannot brush it off. You cannot stamp your feet and hit podiums and say it doesn't matter. Because the unidentified male A, the unidentified male B, and every multi-person mixture.
Yeah, I can say it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's too much evidence on the prosecution. It doesn't matter. But yes, you have to prove your point. You have to say what you have to say, right? Okay, let's get back to it. Resume.
That has 3 to 5 extra people in it. They do matter. And we can't forget that in a lot of those mixtures, the Nathaniel Rowland is excluded. He's not there. So it's somebody else. Now the problems with this case, the way I see it, is that back in March of 2019, everybody started jumping to conclusions and just making up their minds on something. When we know on March 30th of 2019, law enforcement literally knew nothing. What they knew was that Samantha Josephson had gone missing. What they knew was that her body had been located in Clarendon County. And what they knew at that point is that Nathaniel Rowland had been pulled over by Officer Kraft, and there was liquid in the car that they at that point suspected was blood. The initial report came back from the lab confirming that it was in fact blood. Nobody has stood up here and said that Samantha Josephson's blood was not in that car. Nobody has stood up here and said that Nathaniel Rowland was not the one driving the car. But her blood being in the car and Nathaniel Rowland driving the car does not mean that he is the one that killed him. Killed her. And that is what this trial is about. He's not charged with driving a car. He's not charged with trying to sell a cell phone. He's not charged with not calling the police when he should have. He's charged with murder. He is charged with kidnapping. And he is charged with possessing the weapon during those 2 crimes. That's why we're here. Not for what he might have done starting in the late morning hours of Friday, but what happened between approximately 2:07.
Yeah, you see that. Oh, I didn't even have it on mute here. I'm so sorry. It's probably echoing. I'll put it back on mute. I apologize. Black Lady Jane said, Donna just been wild. The judge is now presiding over the murder Was it Murdaugh? I pronounced it Murdaugh murder trial. Sad note: the judge's son recently passed away. Oh, no wonder. Cause when I noticed that he is on the he's the judge, and I said something about him looked so sad. That's what it was. His son passed away. Wow, he had to bury his son. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's get back to it. I'll put it back on mute. Sorry for the echoing. Resume.
On Friday morning, to when Miss Josephson was located in the woods. That's what this trial is about. At the beginning, a little over a week ago, 8 days ago, Mr. Gibson stood before you, and he told you that the simple answer is the easy answer, or the simple answer is the right answer, or something along those lines. There is nothing simple or easy about what's happened in this courtroom this week. Nothing. In fact, the opposite is true. We all know this. The simple answer, typically not the right answer. It's the giveaway. It's the one you can fall back on. Go ahead, snap it, it's done. And starting 2 years ago, and continuing to today, that's the narrative that has been adopted by law enforcement. It's the narrative that was adopted by the solicitor's office, and it's the narrative that they've given you throughout this trial. Now, I'm not going to go back through every piece of evidence, every witness that you've heard of. That you heard from. Y'all were listening, y'all were paying attention. We were watching. Y'all watch us, we watch you. We know you were paying attention. So I don't need to go back through everything. But there are, a few key pieces that I think show and prove that the easiest answer is not the right answer for this case. Now I want to start where I believe the narrative is kind of getting skewed a little bit. And luckily, this video is in evidence. We're going to start with Officer Kraft. The initial officer that, his blue lights pulled Nathaniel over and conducted a traffic stop. What you were told was happening in that video is that Nathaniel Rowland was driving through 5 Points, 1 block away from the Bird Dog, when a traffic stop was initiated. What happened was Nathaniel Rowland was traveling out of the Shandon neighborhood, had come up to the stoplight, got into the turning lane to turn left, and turned left. He did not go into 5 Points towards the Bird Dog. He turned left. Officer Kraft then hits his blue lights. And you see Nathaniel Rowland driving his car, put on his blinker, get into the turning lane. It's all on video, you can see it. It's a turning lane to turn left to stop for the traffic stop. And then I believe the testimony was when the car stopped, he started talking, everything was fine. Then we get him out of the car, and just like that, he's gone. That's not what happened. And you don't have to take my word for it because you'll have the video. It's not just believe what I'm telling you because I'm telling you. It's watch it for yourself and see when the narrative leaves what the evidence shows. Because what the evidence shows is that Officer Kraft asked him out of the vehicle. He got out of the vehicle. He was standing there. He literally gets out of the car and puts his hand in his pocket standing there. Kraft grabs his arm, yells at him, "What, are you crazy?" The other officer who was on scene jumps at him. You can see on the body camera, Nathaniel looks around because the other officer lunged in his direction. And at that point, Nathaniel ran. Am I saying that he should have run? No, I'm not justifying why he ran, but that's what happened. He made the choice to run. When one officer grabbed him, yelled at him, and another one jumped at him. He took off. He shouldn't have, but he did. So he did not tuck tail and run, as was just presented to you when they start telling him why they stopped his car. That's not what happened. Don't let the narrative cloud what you can see with your own eyes. You've also heard nothing from anybody about the amount of blood in this car not being a significant amount of blood. I haven't said it, Ms. Good hasn't said it, Mr. Pillinger hasn't said it. There was a large amount of blood in this car. That was not an issue in this case. Nobody was pretending like it didn't exist. It's there. But what we know from the testimony that you heard is that blood transfers, and it transfers easily. You don't even need a DNA expert to tell you that. Anyone who has ever helped a child with a cut, helped a friend with something, if somebody is bleeding, you're going to get that blood on you. And with the amount of blood in that car, it is not a stretch of the imagination to think that everything else in that car has blood on it. Literally everything. Steering wheel, gear shift, air vents, seat belts, clothing. It got on people, it got on the baby's shoes. Everything in that car had blood on it. And that's a fact. You don't have to touch something in order to get blood on you. You have to come in contact in some way with the blood. And the items that were in the car prior to the blood being in the car have blood on them. That's not a leap and a bound. That makes perfect sense. So prior to them, y'all remember, prior to them coming out and processing the car, the SLED agents, the crime scene investigators, were out in the woods. They got the call out there first because Ms. Josephson's body had been located. And you heard the testimony. We wanted to be as specific as possible when we were talking to these investigators about why they did certain things, what they did, the reasons behind them. Tell us how you did your job. Because these crime scene folks, they did their job. They collected hundreds of things. They don't know what they're looking for when they go out. They are given a basic, here's what we think is happening. They establish the crime scene, and then they start documenting. They document with notes, they document with pictures, because they need to try to make sure that they gather all possible information that could be beneficial in this case. And that's what they did. They collected beer cans, cigarettes. We know what they did. They took pictures of dirt. We have pictures of dirt roads. We have pictures of trees. We have pictures of footpaths, because that's what a crime scene investigator does. They document and they collect. We also have pictures of Ms. Josephson's body when it was in the woods, because crime scene wants to make sure that they can, at a later date, explain clearly how the body was found, what they observed around the body, and preserve any possible evidence that might be present at that time. Because they know that certain types of evidence is very fragile. So if you can get it, you need to get it before the possibility of contamination. That's what they did. A week ago, Ms. Good stood in front of you, and she told you Samantha Josephson had DNA under her fingernails. Y'all heard the testimony. It's under her fingernails. And the crime scene report has that her fingernails were ripped. Ripped. But when investigator Dazik was testifying, and the state's going through and putting in picture after picture after picture, they didn't give y'all any pictures of her hands, because to them that's not important. There's not one photograph of Ms. Josephson's hands, of her fingernails, prior to that autopsy, that would show you the true length of those nails when they found her body in the woods. Not one. They did not give it to you to look at because they don't want you to think about it. Pictures were presented to y'all, and they're here. You can get all of these back and you can look at them. The scene itself in the woods, I think, is also important for a number of other reasons. Dirt roads, brush, a wooded area. You couldn't see Ms. Josephson's body from the road. You had to come into the footpath zone to see where she was.
As I'm watching her, I really do think that she believed this crap that she's saying. Because it was something else. I'll show it. I don't think I'll be showing it another time. The last time. I think I'll be showing it when the judge make his verdict. And the judge had to check her like, really? It was funny. But yeah, I really think that she believed that he's innocent. The other lady's like, absolutely not. I really do think she do. Or she just determined to win this case. I don't know. Maybe look good on her, her resume and, I don't know. Let's get back to it. Resume.
And just imagine, it's pitch black. Somebody drives a car into the middle of nowhere, drags a body out, not a street light in sight. It is pitch black. We're in a wooded area.
Yes, Melanie.
It's not the blanket, you can't see anything. It's those really annoying pointy sticks that scratch you when you go through them. Those kind of trees. Not a scratch. Nobody fell. There's not debris on any of the clothing that they found in the car that they're saying that Nathaniel Rowland was wearing. Nothing from the woods is on Nathaniel Rowland's clothes. Nothing's on his shoes. And not just dirt and debris. If somebody's going to be committing a murder, folks, you're not doing it in slides. You're not doing it in flip-flops. There are at least 3 pair of shoes in that car with no blood on it. A significant bloodletting event, and there's not a shoe that is covered with blood. The slides that they got, it said there's a mixture of DNA, another mixture of DNA, and I'll come back to all of the DNA stuff in just a minute. But no, people aren't going to commit murders wearing flip-flops. It doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense. That person would have been covered. Covered.
If I'm correct, didn't Surat had on flip-flops too when he committed murder? So what are you talking about? That's... Oh well, she's trying. You got to give her credit. She is trying. She's crying. She's trying. She's trying her best. Reason. Oh, what Lisa says? I'm embarrassed for her. Oh no, Black Lady Jane says to Lisa, I'm embarrassed for her. Yeah, this is insane. Oh well, she has to do her job, correct? Let's get it. Resume.
The next scene that was processed was Maria Howard's house. And they kind of went back and forth. I probably have timing off a little bit, but between Maria Howard's house and the car, there was a lot of processing. A lot of items were collected from her home as well. And Maria is one of those witnesses. She's kind of tough, because you have to acknowledge that she's kind of in a situation. You know, she goes and meets with law enforcement 3 days after Nathaniel's in jail. You know, she tells them that she's been working double shifts and, you know, she's been tired and all of these things.
I have to read this because Melanie is right. I know I'm bad over here. I'm being bad. Melanie says she's doing her job. Every defendant, no matter how we feel about them, is constitutionally assumed innocent. Yes, assumed innocent until proven innocent. Yes, assumed innocent until proven innocent. It's hard to remember that most of the time with these jerks. Yeah, it is so hard. But they are entitled. Alright, I was just being bad. Alright, let's get back to it.
But when she testified, you know, it's little things. You have to remember what you tell people if you're going to keep that story going. You know, we've all heard that. If you're going to tell a lie, you better remember what it is. So if you're working double shifts, you know, that's the reason your daughter's not with you, which is fine. Everybody needs help. But you're with Nathaniel every day. You know, he doesn't spend the night at my house, but I know what he looks like when he wakes up. Okay? You know, when he showed up, he didn't have my shirt, and then he disappeared and came back with my work shirt, and it was wet because he had washed it, and so I put a wet shirt on and went to work. Okay? None of that makes sense. I don't know what she's talking about. I wish I could offer you an explanation as to what she's talking about, but none of that stuff makes any sense. Why she would get into a car covered with blood and just go on about her day like everything is fine. That doesn't make sense. Why she didn't call the police if she was so scared. You heard her, she told, I was too scared. I couldn't call the police, I was too scared. Well, when she got to work that day and she texted her mother, she said, baby tried, LOL, my shirt is wet as F. He will not be wasting it, I believe she said, washing clothes ever. Have a good day, love you. That's not somebody who's terrified and scared and trying to figure out what's going on. That's somebody laughing with their mother that her work shirt is damp and she's not gonna let Nathaniel Rowland wash her clothes anymore. Not somebody who's scared of him. A number of things were taken from Maria Howard's house, and that's why I say I feel like she finds herself in a position. It's her house. She shares that house with her child. And all of these bloody items are found at her house. And she can tell us all she wants to that, you know, I didn't touch anything, I don't know what was going on, I didn't do anything. Her DNA or her fingerprints are all over those bags. All over those bags. She can say whatever she wants, I don't know what's going on in her head, but her fingerprints and her DNA all over those bags. And one of the more interesting things that Maria provided to law enforcement and told y'all the other day is when she realized that her kid was still at daycare. Now the way she describes it, she realizes she needs to get there. Her mother's asleep because she's a school teacher and she was in bed, totally fine. So what does she do? She tells Nate, I need to borrow, we need to go get my daughter. My mom didn't go pick her up. Okay. So Maria's driving. And she told y'all that while she's driving, Nate put on gloves and continued to clean the inside of the car as they were driving down the highway. That he sat there in the front seat cleaning off this multi-tool that she had seen him with, whenever before, wearing gloves, cleaning it off. This is what the tool looks like now. It's been through processing, it's been cleaned, right? The state showed you what this tool looked like when they found it in the trash can. It's not clean. It's got blood, hair, and DNA all over it. He was not sitting in the front seat of the car, riding down the highway in Northeast Columbia, cleaning a murder weapon in the front seat of the car. That did not happen. She came in here and she told y'all something that did not happen. That's the tool that they found in the trash. That's what it looked like. It was not clean like that. wearing gloves and DNA. I'm almost confused after all these years why it is that we even bother with DNA testing. And I only started thinking that after sitting in court today. Why do we take swabs and submit them to analysts if we're going to stand here and try to convince y'all that it doesn't matter what they say? Then why do we do it? I don't have an answer for that. If we're not supposed to pay attention to what the scientists tell us, then why are we sending stuff to scientists? It doesn't make any sense to me. Because that's a theme that has continued to come up throughout this case, and it all boils down, the blood all boils down to what was found on this and where it was found. We know that Nathaniel's DNA, there was a weak support for the inclusion of his DNA in a mixture found in this general area of the tool, right? But what did not come out when the prosecutors were questioning Agent Dwayne is that there was a mixture. I asked her that on cross because it was skipped over. There was a mixture of DNA on that tool. There's a mixture of male DNA on that tool. And the major contributor, y'all remember, Agent Dwayne told you, major means the most DNA present. The major male profile on that tool is not Nathaniel Rowland. It is a weak, and that's not just the word that I'm using, that is their standards for interpretation, a weak support for him to be included on that tool. And that also kind of brings it back around. If the state is going to stand here and tell you over and over and over again that Ms. Josephson didn't have Nathaniel Rowland's DNA under her fingernails because he was wearing long sleeves and gloves, then how does DNA get on that? You cannot straight face stand here and say, she doesn't have his DNA on her because he was covered up, but his DNA is on that because he wasn't covered up. You cannot talk out of both sides of your mouth. You cannot argue he was wearing gloves at one point, not wearing gloves at another, to explain why his DNA is present somewhere and excluded from somewhere else. There's lots of testimony. Like I said, I'm not going to go back through all this because honestly I don't understand a lot of it. The cell phone stuff with the towers and the data, all of that's technical. I can talk to experts, I can listen to the experts, but that is very technical stuff. What we know about the cell phones is that there were 2 phones that were associated with Nathaniel Rowland. We know that one phone, Agent Grabsky, was, he provided y'all with a map. And that map hit off of towers in Columbia, Sumter, Clarendon County. But we know there's a second phone. And in the records that y'all have, all of these phone records right here, the state provided you the proof that Nathaniel Rowland does not have both phones associated with him all the time. And that's important. Because the phone expert testified that the phone doesn't, where the phone is, it doesn't mean the person is. So we know that one phone associated with Nathaniel Rowland was bouncing off cell towers. And we also know that Nathaniel Rowland does not have both of his phones on him at all times, because you don't call yourself and talk to yourself for almost 2 minutes. You don't text message yourself and respond from your 2 separate phones. The records that they gave y'all have the phone calls and have the text messages between the 2 phones that they are saying are associated with him. People don't have conversations with themselves, not over cell phones. So we know that somebody else has Nathaniel's phone. Just because a phone hits off of the tower, that does not mean that the person is there with it. Now, Mr. Goldberg talked about the ATM video, and Mr. Martin's video, the gentleman who works in the solicitor's office. I'll start with the ATM video because it always comes back to the close. I believe that's what he said. Always comes back to the close. Well, the clothes were located. I don't know in which bag, but the clothes were located. There's a black jacket. There's been lots and lots and lots of talk about a black jacket. The black jacket is important because if you're when dealing with a case where somebody is stabbed multiple times, you have to understand that that means the assailant is right up on that person. If somebody gets shot, you can get shot from across the room. You cannot stab somebody from a distance. It's up close and it is personal. So in that scenario, the person wearing the black jacket, they believe is the assailant. They tested that jacket. They tested it for DNA. They found DNA. They tested multiple places on the jacket. They tested the cuff. You put a jacket on, it's going to be around your cuff. Nathaniel Rowland's DNA is not on that cuff. They tested where they said there were striations, where the scratch marks were, that was potentially nail damage from the fight that Ms. Josephson put on. They tested it. Nathaniel Rowland's DNA is not there. And the excuse that's provided is, well, just because it's not there doesn't mean he never wore it. Then I ask you again, folks, what is the point of having these folks come in here to tell you what they did, what the results are, so we can just turn around and brush it off like it doesn't matter? They also tested the neckline of that jacket. 5 different people. We can pretend like 5 profiles doesn't mean 5 different people. That is what profiles mean. One person has 1 profile, 5 profiles mean 5 people. 5 different people are on the neck of that jacket. I was trying not to get into a whole bunch of DNA, but I don't think I can avoid it, unfortunately. So just bear with me. The beanie, a whole bunch of talk has been about this beanie with cold-blooded on it. Y'all, I can, somebody can go out and buy a beanie with a Superman logo on it, doesn't mean it's Superman. What the beanie says means nothing. So what's important about that is the DNA. Samantha Josephson's DNA is on that beanie. Nathaniel Rowland's DNA is on that beanie. You know why? Because he's worn it. It was on his head. There's video of him wearing it. Ms. Josephson's DNA is on it because it was in the car. The 2 other people who were present on that beanie, I don't know who they are. I don't know how they got there. But there's 2 other people in there. And we can't keep skipping over things that don't work for us. Keep skipping over things that don't fit into this nice little pretty box that I'm trying to give you. You have to look at everything. That oath that y'all took as jurors, to look at everything. Consider all the evidence, all the testimony before you make your decision on whether or not the state's proven their case. And when the state elects not to give you everything, I don't know how you're supposed to do your job. I really don't. There's a tan shirt that Mr. Goldberg brought up from the ATM video. Guess what? Nathaniel Rowland's DNA is not on the tan shirt. There's 2 people, Samantha Josephson and somebody else. In the 67-page report that Agent Dwayne issued in this case, that was the big one, not the one that she did in June of 2021, almost 2.5 years later. The 67-page report from December of 2019. There are 32 different times that Nathaniel Rowland is excluded from profiles. Or it's a combination, either excluded or involves other people. 32 different times. The items where he is supposed to be, in his car, on his belongings, the steering wheel, the gear shift, his hat, his sweatshirt that we know he loves to wear, we know that he's gonna be there. The issue is everybody else. And I don't, arguing that, I take that back. Trying to say that an unidentified profile could be the manufacturer of a vehicle that's a number of years old, you don't have to be any DNA expert to realize that's kind of a stretch. If you own a car for a number of years, the chances of the manufacturer's DNA being there or somebody who did work on your car 4 months prior, it's not likely. It's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's not likely. The unknown profiles in that vehicle, they matter. The unknown men that are involved in this case, they matter. You can't just brush over them because it doesn't fit the story that the state wants you to believe. You heard from Dr. Bieber yesterday. What happened to Ms. Josephson, to say it was a horrific experience, a vicious attack, is an understatement. Over 100 wounds is a lot of wounds. But I can't get around how even Dr. Bieber is convinced that he was. I guess the first time seeing this in court, he just knew automatically it was the weapon. He explained the single, not the double wounds, the single wounds, as somebody using this tool in this manner to create this single blade. Y'all remember that? Now how, in the backseat of a car, in the dark, with a young woman who is fighting for her life, somebody is supposed to hold this tool with a blade literally pointed in their direction and not injure themselves in some way? How somebody does that is beyond me. It's this long when it's together. Y'all look, let's try again. Look at it. Wildly swinging, wildly stabbing, in whatever rage is going on, and there's not a cut on him? How do you accomplish that with this? Like I said, he readily just identified it. He was really excited. He wanted to let y'all know he identified the murder weapon after seeing it for 10 seconds while sitting on the stand. The cause of death in this case was never a question. Never. Nobody ever said Ms. Josephson was not stabbed and died because of those injuries. I don't know what Dr. Bieber's intentions were. I don't know why he tried to explain to y'all that Ms. Josephson's fingernails were too short to get DNA under them after we already had testimony that they collected DNA out from under them. I don't know what that show was about, but this young lady had over 100 stab wounds. There is evidence on her body. There's bruises. She has discoloration of her knuckles. Either she hit something or something hit her. Her fingernails were ripped, even though some witnesses don't want to admit that they were after the fact. We know from SLED that they were ripped. We know from SLED that they were of medium length. Not the short nails in the Scooch showed y'all yesterday. She barely has nails. His report said medium length, and they were ripped. That's what we know. She put up a fight, and Nathaniel Rowland had not a mark on him. That is what we know. There's a footprint in the window. Her fingernails are ripped. She's got bruises. She's got defensive wounds. She didn't lay there. She didn't give up. We never suggested that she did. They've never suggested that she did. This young woman fought. And Mr. Goldberg said that she left a trail with her footprint. Well, she gave y'all the conclusion with her nails. She told y'all who it was. Now, I've touched on a few of the things that I guess just were overlooked in being introduced to you. You have photographs of Nathaniel that were taken by Agent Jazik that showed absolutely no injuries. They didn't even ask him about it. Ask her about it. They didn't even ask her. They said, did you respond to headquarters? Yes, I responded to headquarters. And what did you do? Well, I took some photographs. And did you collect the clothes? Yes, I collected the clothes. They didn't even ask her. Just wanted to brush on by it like it didn't matter. She told you in great detail. Ms. Good asked her in great detail. You took pictures of the back of the hands? Yes. Front of the hands? Yes. Both sides of the arms? Yes. His face, his neck, and there wasn't a mark on his body. If there had been, y'all would be looking at those pictures. If Ms. Josephson had Nathaniel Rowland's DNA under his fingernails, do y'all think they would have left that out? How many times do you think they would have had the DNA analyst on the stand confirming that his DNA is under her fingernails? How many times? But because it's not there, they don't want to talk about it. They want to tell you it doesn't matter because it doesn't work for them. Some of the videos that y'all are going to be able to watch, I do ask you to watch them. Please watch them. Y'all are going to be able to take the big TV back there, but you'll have some device in your jury room to watch these videos. The PDF that was, the PowerPoint presentation that Mr. Martin showed y'all yesterday, that was our first time seeing it too. We don't have a Justin Martin in our office, so we were just sitting there watching 25 plus hours worth of video, doing the same thing, staring at these videos, trying to identify cars, where they were going, how can we try to get some sort of timing on what was going on? Do we see the driver of the vehicle? That one video y'all have, the wrong turn down Saluda. Mr. Goldberg showed it to you today, short clip. You'll be able to watch it. And if you remember, when Mr. Shealy was on the stand, I asked him, he's the owner of Statewide Security, where they got all these videos from. I asked him to confirm whether or not he had a second camera on Saluda. And he does. So we're all familiar with 5 points. I assume we're all familiar with 5 points. If you are at Gourmet Shop, or at the Fountain, or at Starbucks, that intersection heading into Shandon is Saluda Avenue. You can see the vehicle turn left, going the wrong way, and travel down in front of Gourmet Shop. Right before you get to Gourmet Shop, right where that car turned, there is a camera that is literally pointed into the driver's side of a car. It is directly in the street. It's got 3 or 4 different angles on it, but
Objection, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Basis for the objection.
Argument about facts not in evidence.
I do want to.
All right.
He told you there's another camera there. And the only reason you don't have that footage is because law enforcement never asked for it. They never asked for it. They bring you all this other stuff, but they never asked for it. And unfortunately, we were not given the opportunity to ask the investigators in this case why they didn't ask for it. Did y'all notice that none of them testified? None of the lead investigators in this case testified. They've been sitting here all week. This end, that end, and then Investigator Owens is sitting right behind them. None of them testified. So we couldn't ask questions. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you look into this? Did you follow up on something? Did you follow up when you got the DNA reports? Did you follow up on anything? Because they didn't put them on the stand. I cannot tell you why, but I can tell you they've been here all week, and y'all have not heard from them. We couldn't ask them any questions. Now, the state has the burden. You'll hear from the judge, and you heard from Mr. Goldberg. The burden of proof. The burden of proof is not a small thing. It is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Everybody has a different definition on what that means. Everybody explains that differently when they're talking about it. What it boils down to is hesitation. A hesitation to act. And the hesitation doesn't have to be long. The hesitation can be a split second. That's reasonable doubt. If you think for half a second, that's hesitation. If before you put your pen to the paper, you pause, that's hesitation. That's what beyond a reasonable doubt is. That's how you make this decision. And y'all hold them to their burden. Hold them to it. Making poor choices, not calling law enforcement, riding around in a car you know that you should not be driving around in, does not mean that you are guilty of murder. It does not mean that you are guilty of kidnapping. If that's the case, then Maria Howard should have been charged too, because y'all, she drove the car. Twice. With her baby in it. Just because you do things that seem completely irrational, because they are, it's completely irrational to drive around in a car with blood in it, does not mean that you are guilty of murder. They have to prove that Nathaniel Rowland killed Samantha Josephson. Nothing on this table and nothing from that box proves that. They have to prove that he kidnapped Samantha Josephson. Again, nothing on this table and nothing from that stand proves that. They've created a narrative, and he's the villain in their narrative. Because for them, he is the easy answer. He is the simple answer. In this case, it's the wrong answer. It is the wrong answer. The state said that they understand their burden, they welcome their burden. They don't have a choice. They have to meet their burden if y'all are going to vote to convict. They have to. They cannot reject it. It is their burden. Y'all hold them to it. March 29th, 2019, the unthinkable did happen. Samantha Josephson's life was cut short in the most violent way. Nobody has stood up here and told y'all that she deserved what happened or tried to blame her in any way. Anyway, what happened to her is tragic. It is heartbreaking. And this is an emotional case. It is an emotionally charged case. I know it. The state knows it. Everybody in here knows that. But as jurors, I used to believe I could ask juries to put your emotions aside, leave them at the door. Y'all are human beings. Me asking that of you, it goes completely against human nature. You can't check your emotions. That's part of who we are. What I can ask of you is to not let your emotions dictate your decision. Don't let your emotions, the fact that this is a sad, tragic, heartbreaking case, dictate your decision when you go deliberate. That's what I can ask of you. The state has not proven that Nathaniel Rowland kidnapped Samantha Josephson. They have not proven that he has killed her, and they have not proven that he had a weapon during those crimes. What they proved is that he tried to sell her cell phone. He's not on trial for that. What they proved is that he did not call law enforcement when he should have. He's not on trial for that. They have failed at meeting their burden. I ask that you find him not guilty. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's all stand for a moment. Okay. Madam Foreperson and members of the jury, you've heard the testimony, received the evidence, and you've heard the arguments of the state and the defendant. I will now explain to you the law that applies to this case. Under the Constitution and laws of South Carolina, you are the finders of the facts in this case. I do not have the right to pass upon the facts or even to express any opinion that I might have as to them, because this is a matter solely for you, the jury, to determine. As jurors, then, it is your duty to determine the effect, the value, and the weight of the evidence presented during this trial. Now, as the trial judge, it is my duty to and responsibility to preside over the trial of the case, and I also have the duty to pass upon the admissibility of the evidence offered during the trial. You are to consider only the testimony which has been presented from this witness stand, together with any other evidence or exhibits presented and made a part of the record, and any stipulations made by counsel. I have the additional duty to charge you the law applicable to this case. And as the presiding judge, I am the sole judge of the law of this case. It is your duty as jurors to accept and apply the law as I now stated to you, then deliberate in an effort to reach your verdict. And finally, I charge you in this regard that you should not be concerned with what you think the law ought to be, but what I charge you that the law is. You are also the judges, the sole judges of the credibility, that is the believability of the witnesses who have testified and of the evidence which has been offered. And considering credibility, you may take into
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, do you really want to hear anything else what the judge has to say here? Since we kind of already know what the verdict is. Let me know in the comments, because if not, I'll end it, because it's just basically the judge is going to talk, because I was going through it. The judge is going to talk about the rules, the judge, then they go on. Yeah, that's basically it. Just the judge going to talk about, the rules of the case. Alright, let me know, put a yes, continue. If not, I will stop, and then next time we would just focus on the verdict. Okay, let me read this comment that Holly, I hope I'm saying it right. Holly, hope I'm saying your name right. All right, I often wonder how these defense attorneys sleep at night. I get that it's a job that has to be done by someone, but it's astonishing to me how you can argue for the innocence of a monster. That's what I'm saying. I think about that all the time. I mean, they are entitled to a lawyer, but I'd be wondering how. Clear as day that they are evil, that they did the crime. It's a good movie that kind of explains this a little bit, like, a little bit, The Devil's Advocate. That's an interesting movie. I was just watching that not too long ago recently, and as I'm thinking about with these trials, it's kind of similar, because, I don't know, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. All right, let me see. Can play. Alright, wait, let me go down here. What did y'all say? Melanie said, can you play the reading of the verdict? Oh, so you want me to just skip to do the verdict now? Do the verdict now or do it another day? I could do the verdict now, and we could just and I'll wrap up the whole thing if you like. Alright, Holly says, so true, Melanie, it's for the greater value of the Constitution. I do understand that. Alright, Melanie said something else. Yeah, but sure, it's hard to support a defense on these cases. Yeah. Wait a minute. Alright, just skip the handsome judge talk. He is a cutie pie, isn't he? And that other one, the prosecution, the other brother in the prosecution, he's a cutie pie. And the other guy on the prosecution, I love when he talk. I could just listen to him talk all day. I love that southern accent. Oh, I love it. All right. So, okay, do the verdict, please, now. All right, let's just get to the verdict. All right. Dun. All right, cutie pie, we're going to have to let you go. All right. Now, let me make sure I got this correct. Yeah, now we're getting into the verdict. Alright, I'm on this speed just to 1.5 for a little bit, and then maybe go up to 1.2, what am I saying, 1.25. And maybe later on I'll speed it up. Oh, okay, let's get it.
Thank you. Madam Forelady, if you'll stand for me, please. Have you reached the verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
Is it unanimous?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, if you will pass it up, please, and you may be seated. Defendant will rise. Madam Clerk, you may publish the verdicts.
Indictment number 2019 GS 40-2528, the state of South Carolina versus Nathaniel David Rowland. It's an indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. We the jury find the defendant guilty. This is signed four-person jury number 130, July 27, 2021. Indictment number 2019 GS 40-2450, the state of South Carolina versus Nathaniel David Rowland. It's an indictment for murder. We the jury find the defendant guilty. This is signed four-person jury. This is signed by four-person jury number 130, July 27, 2021. Indictment number 2019 GS 42453, the state of South Carolina versus Nathaniel David Rowland. It's an indictment for kidnapping. We the jury find the defendant guilty. This is signed four-person jury number 130, July 27, 2021. Madam four-person, are these your verdicts and the verdicts of the entire jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Any individual polling requested?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you will poll the jurors individually by their juror numbers.
Yes, Your Honor. Jury number 130, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 469, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 169, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 516, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 635, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 72, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 534, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 73, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 201, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 103, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 520, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jury number 414, were these your verdicts?
Yes.
Are they still your verdicts?
Yes.
Jurors have been polled, Your Honor.
The verdict of the jury is unanimous. Any post-trial motions?
May it please the court, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, the defense will renew all of our pretrial motions, specifically but not limited to our motion to suppress because of the illegal stop that was performed on Mr. Rowland's car on March 30th, 2019. We would renew all objections throughout the trial, Your Honor, and we would ask at this time for a new trial based on the brevity of deliberations. The court was presented with at least 32 witnesses, over 300 pieces of evidence, and by my count, Your Honor, the jury was out for an hour and 7 minutes. So we would ask for a new trial based on the brevity of the deliberations from the jury.
Response.
You hear this bull crap that she's grasping for? Are you joking? Are you kidding me? Okay, let's get back to it. This is insane. This is insane. Defense, you are struggling. You are struggling. Okay, let's get back to it.
Response by the state.
Your Honor, we would just ask that you stand by your previous rulings.
In all the rulings made by the court, we listened to the arguments of the state and the defense. The police investigating the missing person and coming upon Nathaniel Rowland at the location they did had a reasonable suspicion to engage a traffic stop of his vehicle, which matched the description of the vehicle that Ms. Josephson entered. Court stands by its ruling regarding the sufficient basis to stop the vehicle. The court also affirms all of its previous rulings during the course of the trial with regard to the what the defense says is the brevity of the deliberations. The state presented a clear, cogent, convincing, and overwhelming case of guilt. The evidence was clear for the jury to see. During the course of the past week, the jury reviewed the evidence in 1 hour and 7 minutes. Was a sufficient time for them to do that, and I respectfully deny the motion. And ladies and gentlemen, when you find someone guilty, then it becomes my duty to impose a sentence. And my experience tells me that all jurors are typically interested in seeing what happens beyond a verdict, and I invite you to stay for sentencing. We're going to move into that phase of it at this time. By the state. Yes, sir.
Your Honor's inclined at this time, the stage is prepared to present victim impact.
All right, is the defense ready to proceed with sentencing as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, proceed. Mr. Goldberg, Mr.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, please report, this is Marcy Josephson, Samantha's mother.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I just might as well just play this out, and then we'll be done with this trial. Now we're gonna hear the family speak. This is sad. Okay, so dad, mom, and the sister are going to speak. And if I'm correct, they're gonna speak. Oh gosh. All right, get ready to hold your seats, because when they speak, when this woman speaks, the judge is gonna check her. Yes, he's going to check her. All right, so sit back, be comfortable, have your crunch and munch, and let's get it.
Words cannot express the anguish our family and friends have endured since he kidnapped and brutally murdered Samantha. From the day I found out I was having Sammy, I was in love with her. As a mother, you worry and pray that your child will be safe, happy, and healthy. When she was sad, I was sad. When she was happy, so was I. Her dreams were my dream, and her death was my death. I close my eyes, and I feel what she endured at his hands 120 times. Over and over and over, fighting for her life, locked in his car. I used to have dreams for her. Now all I have are nightmares. 120 times. The final moments, her bare feet kicking and fighting for her life. I visualize the blood flowing from her body, her beautiful body, 120 times for what? The $35 a college student has in her bank account? The loss of Sammy is beyond words. There'll be no more birthday parties, backyard gatherings, holiday celebrations, or activities to share with her. I was planning my trip to Columbia in 2019 to watch my daughter graduate from college. Instead, I went to Columbia to gather her belongings. I cannot watch my daughter graduate from law school, get married, or have children, all of which were her dreams. Her laughter, hugs, guidance, advice, and opportunities to tell her I love her are gone. Our family of four is forever broken. All I have are memories of the past and thoughts about what her final moments on earth must have been like. He erased my future with Sammy, but he cannot touch my memories. The excruciating pain he put her through is unimaginable. I pray that when Sammy closed her eyes, she thought of things. His evil face was not the last thing she saw before she took her last breath. I pray that her grandparents and uncle wrapped her in her loving arms. In 1 second, our lives changed. I miss her. Everything she touched was better because she made it so. The lessons she taught me as a mom are carried through me forever. She brightened up the day with her smile. The pain and loss are beyond words. He changed me forever. The heinous and brutal crime could have happened to anyone. Sammy was a reflection of everyone's child. Sammy had a bright future. She worked hard to accomplish her goals. She was kind and compassionate and would never hurt anyone. She did not prey upon others. I walked hand in hand with her throughout her 21 years. Her death sliced through my heart. Now I see sadness in ordinary days. I miss her heartfelt laugh. I am breathless and I want my Sammy. Such a heinous, vicious crime. Why? I spent the last 2 years asking myself that question. He cut out a piece of me. I'm bleeding silently. You don't see it. I try to move forward each day, but forever will be broken. One cannot explain the grief my family feels. There was no warning, no time to say goodbye, no time to tell Sammy all the things I would have wanted to say, no time to kiss her Kevlar. We were thrown into this world of terror. My world is now incomplete. Nothing but memories can fill the emptiness of Sammy's passing. I miss her precious voice, her giggles, and humor. I long to know that she closed her eyes and visualized her family in peace and not his face. I will never comprehend why he did what he did. I try not to dwell on how she died. Rather, I want to remember how she lived, but I'm not there yet. I had the gift of being Samantha's mother for 21 years. I despised everything about him. His eyes glaring at my family during the trial told me everything I already knew about him. He is pure evil. Samantha fought for her life because her life was worth fighting for. I wish I could gather the broken pieces of my heart. I am breathless. I want my Sammy. The ache that spreads throughout my body hurts more each day. I cannot fully express how it feels to lose a daughter. The ache, the longing, endlessly tearing me up inside. He's a monster, he's evil and pathetic. The excruciating pain he put my daughter through is unimaginable. I am shattered, angry, and heartbroken. His ruthless, violent act took a bright light out of my universe and changed many lives forever. He stole my beliefs. However, I pray every day. I pray that he feels Samantha's pain. I pray that he get what he deserves under the law. I pray that he never has a chance to hurt anyone ever again. Everyone has choices. He may not like them now, but it was his choice to kidnap and murder Sammy, and he will have to face the consequence of his choices. I ask the court, I ask your honor to impose the strictest sentence upon him so that he may never walk the streets as a free man again for the rest of his life.
Thank you.
You piece of crap. All you could do is just sit there and listen. After what you did to this girl. Broke this woman's heart. Her baby. She sent away to college to be somebody in life. And you just took everything away. And your loser ass parents, yeah, I said it, loser parents gonna support this crap. Piss me off. I'm getting angry now. I'm really getting disturbed. This is pissing me off. I can't stand these type of guys. I can't stand them. All right, resume.
Yes, sir, Chief.
Your Honor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I've been a police officer for
To the ladies and gentlemen that's coming in, make sure you hit the like button. Feel free to engage anytime. Now we just finished the verdict. We finished the closing arguments. Then we finished the verdict. Now we hearing the impact statements from the mother, the father of the victim, and the sister, and also her boyfriend. Then afterwards, we're going to hear the impact statement from this loser, lowlife's parents, okay? So make sure you hit the like, feel free to engage, or if you just want to sit back and relax and listen, it's okay with me. Let's get it. Resume.
for 30 years. I've been a patrol officer, special agent, and honored my life as being the police chief here in Columbia. I've never experienced a more heinous act, an act of violence that tore the fabric of our community. Violent crimes are destroying our country right now. Lack of accountability, I think, plays much a role in that. This crime ripped our community. I saw the effect that it had on this family, on our law enforcement community. The effort in the first 48 hours between our state agents and our local officers was unparalleled to anything I've ever experienced. The most difficult thing that I think I've ever done is stand before this family to let them know that we were bringing their daughter home, but also to find the courage on how to talk about what had happened to their daughter. I implore you to make sure that this young man never can prey on anybody in this community again, and is held accountable for these heinous acts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
If they didn't catch this man, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, he would have done it again. He would have did it again. He was just evil. Did what he did to this woman, just circling around, looking for a victim. You know I'm talking a lot. Let's get through this one. Piss me off. You should have never been born. But that's all right. You're done. You can't hurt another woman again, because you would have did it again. Resume.
sister, Sydney?
Yeah, Holly, doesn't it pisses you off? Angers you.
After discussing my sister this past week,
Louder, please.
After discussing my sister this past week and knowing nothing can bring her spunky self back except for justice, that's all that my family and friends and I want. Like most sisters, that's just the relationship we had, being spicy and going back and forth, knowing exactly how to push each other's buttons, made me laugh and cry. She made me remember not to take life too seriously. She was so funny without even meaning to be. With such plans for the future, her full ride to law school, and together we had plans to have kids that would grow close together, spend much time vacationing at our future beach house, and taking advantage of the life we thought we could have. Sammy always knew she was included with me and my friends, even when I didn't invite her, but always rallied along, and I loved spending time with her. I'm at a loss right now, and I can't even imagine how to put my emotions into words. Nothing will replace her, nothing I can say will bring her back, and nothing that I can say I know will ease my family's pain and heartache. Every day, having to go through the same thing over and over again, with being forced to recognize exactly how we lost her, and how she will not be with us. No one should have to go through the stress and sadness that we all face on a daily basis, minute by minute. I ask this court, and I ask your honor, to impose the strictest sentence upon him so he will never have this opportunity to do this again to another person or family, or to walk the streets as a free man, because he certainly did not let my sister walk a free woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samantha's father, Seymour?
So Judge, I have no idea how to get through this. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, so I apologize. I have a book here that was created from family and friends. In here are over 90 impact statements of friends and family of how they've been devastated for the last 28 months. I only wish that you read these, of how impactful it has hit my community, my friends, and my family. I have this here for you if you wish to read at any time.
Yeah, I do. I wish to read it. I'd love to, if you would hand it up, please.
I need glasses. I can't read off of a phone. It's too old for that. Thank you, Judge, for the opportunity to stand here and share with you the impact of losing my baby daughter, Samantha Josephson. I really don't know where to start or what to say. Do I stand here today and tell you that I've been an incredible amount of anger, an incredible amount of guilt, can't sleep at night. I don't want to go to sleep because all I do is start thinking of Samantha. I still, to this day, can't watch videos of Samantha. I hate looking at pictures. I have repeated nightmares and visions of him, the monster, stabbing her. I have visions of her, foot on the back window. I have visions of her screaming and fighting. I have visions of her taking her last breath. I have.
Do you all know how fathers feel about their daughters? Fathers and daughters have a bond it's just phenomenal. And just hearing what he's saying, the vision. And fathers is about protecting their family, especially, their wives and especially their daughters. And he must feel like, wow, I wasn't there to protect my little girl from the hands of this monster. He took away the joy of me able to walk her down the aisle. He just took it away. Watch her graduate, giving me grandchildren. Piece of crap, you lowlife. Resume.
Such hatred running through me. I still, to this day, can't believe she is gone. I keep waiting for her to walk through the door, saying, hey, only the way she does. I had this guilt of her not coming home that weekend to visit Rutgers Law School. The weekend prior, we were at Drexel Law School, where she had a full scholarship, and Rutgers was only offering 60 or 70%. I just told her that she would be fine at Drexel Law School, and not to bother with Rutgers. So over money, I told her enough not to. And Drexel was great, and it'd be a free ride. With all this guilt and anger and rage and hatred, do I tell you that has this really affected me? Do I really share with you my deepest secrets? Do I tell you that I've contemplated suicide? So, several times over the...
Yeah, it is. He contemplates suicide. Told you. Falls with their daughters. It's something it's extremely strong. And he actually feels like a failure. Like he did something wrong. He wasn't there to protect her. See? You didn't do nothing wrong, sir. You didn't do nothing wrong. What went wrong was, I'll explain to you what went wrong. Yeah, this is what went wrong. This couple right here laid down and had this monster. That's what went wrong. You ain't got nothing to do with it. They just laid down together and made this monster. That was it. You didn't do nothing wrong. Reason.
The past 28 months. Okay. He, the monster, has stolen this bright light, this enthusiasm of life out of me. I tried to stop having these thoughts or desires only because I'm afraid of what this would ultimately do to Sydney and Marcy. I know I have changed so dramatically that it's actually bad to put into words. People always ask, how are you doing? My answer is, I'm upright, or I'm living the dream. What a nightmare. I stand here before you for Marcy, Sydney, Samantha, to make sure justice is served for Samantha. I would tell you, Judge, for the first 2 years, I didn't even know his name. I never wanted to hear his name, or I still don't want to know or hear his name. I stand here for the last week in bewilderment, asking, how in the world did we get here? Why does he, this animal, have any rights? How is it okay for him to go over to his family freely during breaks, unchanged? Why does he have this right with an avalanche of evidence while the family and friends sit here in such pain, wishing and wanting to have our Samantha back? But no, with 120 wounds and stabbings, you or anyone cannot bring her back. But we have him walking and talking to his family freely. It kills me to witness this. I often think of Sammy or go to call her. As a matter of fact, until recently, we still had her cell phone active, so I could call or text her. A lot of the times I think of Sammy sitting on the couch, looking at my two favorite pictures of Sam and one of Sydney and Sam together. She is such a beautiful person, inside and out. Samantha was to graduate that spring of 2019 from the University of South Carolina. She was going to attend Drexel Law School on a full scholarship in Philadelphia. She wanted to help others and fight for people's rights. Samantha was one of the kindest, light-hearted, funny people you would have met. Honestly, she trusted too many people. Just recently, last week, I received an email from one of her freshman 101 professors. She mentioned how funny and bright-hearted she was, how memorable she was, how she was a bright light and stood out with her class. Sorry. We would sit on the couch in the family room and just talk about everything, from politics to the world. She would listen, ask questions, digest it, and then give her opinions. Sammy would call me late at night to talk about the news, the world, or anything. Both of my kids knew, or know, how to wrap me around their fingers. Each of them are different, but know how to sucker me in. I knew, or know, this, but I would laugh. I knew, or know this, but I would laugh and smile, and always say yes. Samantha always knew I would say yes, and buy them whatever. I have to say, I miss and ache for that. That night of her kidnapping, and she called me about using my credit card, supposedly, hers didn't work, or left. I said, really? But okay. I often find myself alone and not wanting to be around anyone. I force myself to go out or be around people. I've had a bad time putting up with people and their BS, so I have to eliminate some people and their negative personalities. I just don't care anymore. We started a foundation in Samantha's honor. Part of my responsibilities is to go around and speak to groups, colleges, businesses on rideshare safety, and they always ask, how do you do this? I would just answer, no clue. But not doing this for a while, I looked back and thought about it. It was cathartic. I was keeping Sammy around me, with me, and not letting anybody forget, not even him, to take this from me. I won't let him. Someone always asks me, what was Samantha like? The only way I can best describe Samantha is when we were at the vigil in South Carolina, and some of her friends and sorority friends got up to speak. All of them described Samantha as a person who lit up a room, always smiling and laughing, always a great friend, and lit that room up when she entered it. When we got back to Robbinsville, approximately 6 or 8 of her friends got up to speak at the vigil. Each one said that Sammy was her best friend. And some could not get up to speak. That, to me, is a true testament of how great she is. Even to this day, the lasting impression and feelings she had or has on them. I look at my wife, and she's not even close to being the same. I have lost a huge piece of her, along with Samantha. Every day, I look at her and only wish I could do something to take that pain away. Her memory, laughter, her ease of life, her flame that burns inside is way down. My Sydney, she lost her best friend, her confidant, her baby sister. She is who I worry the most about moving forward. Sammy was a gaffer, talked a lot. Sid is tight now, keeps a lot in. In the end, you have taken my baby away. I will never see her graduate from college, law school, walk her down the aisle, and get married. To see the children, the grandchildren, all the milestones that one would normally experience if an animal or a monster did not take them away from us. And for what? What did you get from Sam? $10? $20? He took her life. He took her life. Only an animal or monster does that. Judge, I only wish we could inflict the same or more pain he inflicted upon Sammy. Please, I beg you, please, give him life and never see the light.
Thank you.
Lift your eyes up. Lift your eyes up.
It's been 851 days of horror that this family has had to live through, their friends, their community. And today has been a catharsis of sorts as we've gone through this week or so of trial. And the jury has come back with a verdict based on the evidence. And based on that evidence, Judge, I respectfully ask you, I know that you've listened thoughtfully and
I can't help but have to say, this is another fine-looking man, too. Lord, I love when he talks. I can listen to him all day. When he did the opening statement, I was just like, oh. Oh, such a cutie, well dressed, and tall and bald. Yes. All right, let's get back to the trial.
And to all of the evidence that's been presented, and based on what you've heard, I respectfully ask that you impose a life sentence on the defendant for the murder of Samantha Josephson, the kidnapping of Samantha Josephson, and the possession of a weapon in the violent crime.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the state? Anyone else present who would like to address the court? Yes, sir.
Reverend Corvisher, Samantha's boyfriend. Don't have anything written prepared.
Now the boyfriend is gonna talk. So sad. You took away the love of his life. You took away his potential wife. You took away the potential mother of his children that he was gonna grow with and bond with and live happily ever after, make a commitment to the Lord. You took all this away, you piece of crap. Resume.
Today. All I can say is that I pictured this day for 28 months. Sleepless nights, the constant night terrors, even waking up all the way down the hallway from where my bed is because I'm such an active sleeper now. Constantly paranoid, constantly afraid. Samantha's parents and her sister have shared with me that they lost a piece of themselves. I lost the love of my life that day. I'll never forget the last words that I spoke to her that night when she was with her friends. As I said before, I told her to enjoy the night. She deserved it. She had just gotten into law school. Couldn't be more excited for what she had in front of her. What sticks with me to this day, and what he took from me. She said to me, you are my person.
I don't mean to pause. No disrespect to the boyfriend. He got the Barry White voice. Go, yes, he do. Yes, he does. Oh, my Lord, I love a man with a strong voice. Ooh, gosh, help me. Weakness. Resume.
And to me, that represents, that we want to spend the rest of our life together. I had my plans to move up to Philly with her, to be close to her, to spend time with her, when we were going to tackle life together. Your Honor, this girl that I wanted to marry, I will never find a love like that ever again. And it's because of the defendant standing right there. He took all that from me, and the constant anguish and sadness that I see this family and everyone here that you see behind me, and even more. The pain that they have to endure every day, the texts that I get at 3 a.m. that someone's afraid to get into their Uber. They call me to stay on the phone with them until they get home. That constant paranoia that's instilled in them every day because of this man. And probably many other young females and males out there as well that are out drinking and just trying to have a good time. I just reiterate all that he's taken. You've seen the sadness this week and last week. I would ask for the strictest sentence possible. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the state at this time?
No, sir, that's all the state has.
All right, by the defense.
Oh my God, Black Lady Jane, I can't. That song was going through my mind too. My first, my last, my everything. This is not good. I'm gonna be focused on this trial. I'm like, this guy's, he's just a cutie pie. And the other lawyer on the prosecution, he's a cutie pie too. And he talks, oh my God, you can listen to him all day. Yeah, I'm about to play some Barry White in a second. Well, he's laughing too. This is insane. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's focus. Let's get back to this. Oh, Barry White talk again. Resume.
Please, Court, Your Honor, if you would hear from Nathaniel Rowland's mother first.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state has accused our son of a crime that he didn't commit.
No, I'm not going to hear
All right.
any claim of innocence.
Okay, let
He's
me
been
rewind this.
convicted by the jury.
Oh, wait a
very
minute. This is
caring
not good.
young man. This is a young man who went through high school.
Oh, I'm gonna have to rewind this.
college, played ball, active in his church, never had anything against him. The state had
No, sir, that's all the state has.
All right, by the defense.
Okay, Mama got something to say.
If you would hear from Nathaniel Rowland's mother first.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state had accused our son of a crime that he didn't commit. You
Ma'am,
know-
I'm not going to hear
All right.
any claim of innocence.
Okay,
He's been convicted by the jury.
okay. He's a very caring young man. This is a young man who went through high school, college, played ball, active in his church, never had anything against him. Now, I know as a mother, and a mother knows her child, I know my son didn't do this. I know.
How do you know that?
Sir,
How do you know
by
that?
the way I raised him.
Pardon?
By the way I raised him. And when you're a mother, and you're truly
Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear this crap? I'm gonna have to rewind again. I want to have a whole day just to focus on them, but since we're here tonight, we just do this now and wrap it up. Yeah, I have to rewind this. I'm sorry. And she really bothers me. She really does. All right. Yep, she really does bother me. And you bother me more. All right, resume.
I'm not going to hear any claim of innocence.
okay,
He's been convicted by the jury.
okay. He's a very caring young man. This is a young man who went through high school, college, played ball, active in his church, never had anything against him. Now, I know as a mother, and a mother knows her child, I know my son didn't do this. I know.
How do you know that?
Sir,
How do you know
by
that?
the way I raised him.
Pardon?
By the way I raised him. And when you're a mother, and you're a truly good mother, and you raise your child in the right way, you would know when that child has done something or did something right or wrong. I can't. And I know he didn't do this.
We're
But,
not going to hear any
yes, sir.
claim of what he
Okay.
did or didn't do.
Yes,
He's
sir.
guilty of murder. He's
Yes,
guilty of kidnapping.
Yes, sir.
He's guilty of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. And if you had any testimony that you wanted to give for the jury to consider, the trial was the time to do that. I'm not listening to any claim of what he did not do. You are not a witness.
But he's a loving child. He's a good person, very respectful, and respect others. And I thank the court.
Thank you.
Please, Court, Your Honor. Your Honor, I believe what Mrs. Rowland was trying to,
I heard her loud and clear, every word she said, and I don't know how you can tell me what you think she was trying to say. But go
Well-
ahead.
Your Honor, I would just respectfully request the same opportunity to address the court as the Josephson family was given. Nathaniel's parents were not charged with anything. They were not convicted of anything, Your Honor.
I am happy to hear from any and everyone who has something to say on behalf of the defendant. You will have the same opportunity that was provided the state.
Certainly, Your Honor. So on behalf of Mr. Rowland's family, I would just like the court to know that they have stood behind him 100% from the day of his arrest. His mother, father, brother, and sisters all believe in him. They have believed from the beginning that the wrong person had been charged, and they still hold that belief today. So on behalf of the family, I would like Your
She is really convinced that he didn't do it. Wow. Okay. Resume.
Honor to know that that is the family's position.
That will not be taken into consideration in any form or fashion in deciding a sentence. We're in the sentencing phase of the trial.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
I'm going to pick up the speed so we can finish this one here out. So I'm going to pick up the speed to 1.5 because I do want to show you a video. All right. A small news clip. All right, let's get it.
that. I was just letting you know what the family's intentions were and what they were trying to let Your Honor know. They love Nathaniel Rowland. He is her son. His father is sitting here. His father has suffered a stroke over the past year and some change. His brother has been here the whole time. His sister had to work a few days, but she's been here supporting him also. So he's got a loving family who is in his corner and who are going to be by his side every day, whatever sentence Your Honor imposes upon him today. Mr. Rowland maintains his innocence of these charges, Your Honor. He pled not guilty from the very beginning. We understand that the jury has reached a verdict, and we understand that verdict is unanimous, but Mr. Rowland maintains his innocence of these charges. He is currently 27 years old, Your Honor. You heard that 800 some odd days have gone by. He's been incarcerated since March 30th of 2019. Your Honor is fully aware, we all are, that murder has a mandatory minimum. He does not have any prior convictions on his record. His family is all here. He does have the support of his community, Your Honor. You heard that he was a pretty talented basketball player. He attended college. When he was in college, he worked in the dean's office. He was studying business management, was not able to, he was not able to graduate, but he had goals of opening his own business and was working towards that prior to getting arrested. On the night of his arrest, Your Honor, he was with his girlfriend. She is still standing beside him, behind him, still believing in that relationship, Your Honor.
His girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
Was it the same person that we heard from as a witness?
No, sir. That relationship is still there. It's still strong. She still supports him in every way you can imagine, Your Honor. No, sir, she is not here today. Your Honor, I would ask you to sentence Nathaniel to the minimum 30 years. It is not a small amount of time. It is a day-for-day sentence. Being 27 years old, going in, he will be well into his 70s before that sentence is complete. He does not have any sort of violent history. He has nobody that we've talked to. His family would tell you that he does not have a violent bone in his body. They don't understand it, Your Honor. He has no history of anything or any allegations like this in the past. And, Your Honor, we would respectfully ask you to consider the minimum sentence and run all sentences concurrent.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak on behalf of the defendant? Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just going to put on normal speed when the father talks. It's very brief, but, it's sad that this man had a stroke. And you know why you had a stroke? Because of your son. See, toxic children like this, when you have these type of family members, they will cause a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on you, and that will cause you to have a stroke. You had a stroke because of your son being a monster. Resume.
You can remain seated if you want to. You can stand or sit.
I'm Henry Rowland. I'm Nathaniel Rowland's father. Now, Judge, I got 4 different kids beside Nathaniel. And believe me, I went through all the schools from kindergarten to, and I did. In his blood, he always been a determined child, all through his life. Now, I can't tell you what happened. I don't know what happened. But I know deep down in my heart that this young man has been through this. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for Miss Josephson's family. I am so sorry for her family. I know what they're going through, because we go through the same thing, because we cherish our children. But I pray and hope that you be as lenient as possible with the evidence that was presented. And, that's all. That's all. I'm going to say thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else on behalf of Mr. Rowland? Response by the state.
On a somewhat unrelated matter, unless I'm
Back
mistaken,
to
I believe,
1.5
due to the conviction for kidnapping, that there should be no sentence, excuse me, the conviction for the murder, there should be no sentence imposed for the kidnapping. I believe is the way the statute reads.
Say it again, please.
I believe the kidnapping statute, 16(3)(9)(10), outlines that the penalty for kidnapping is imprisonment not to exceed 30 years unless sentenced for murder. So I believe that the murder sentence consumes the kidnapping sentence, the way I read the statute.
Do you agree with that, Ms. Penny?
Yes, Your Honor, I would agree with that. I'd also ask that you, because of the kidnapping conviction, put on whatever sentencing sheet that he not be required to register, since it's not a sex-related allegation.
There's certainly no objection to that, as I believe that language would be appropriate. And the other matter to consider from a sentencing standpoint, Judge, is the possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. If Your Honor is to impose a numerical sentence, then I believe that you can obviously impose the 5-year sentence, but as I read 1623(5)(90), that 5-year sentence does not apply if Your Honor chooses to impose a life sentence.
If the defendant will come before the court for sentencing. Mr. Rowland, during my time on the bench, I have presided over many murder trials, and they typically involve shootings. And with what seems to be an epidemic of criminal activity now, on a monthly basis, we encounter people accused of murder, people convicted of murder. This is the first time, however, that I presided over a case where a victim was stabbed 120 times. The last case I participated in, where a victim was stabbed and tortured, resulted in a jury imposing the death penalty, which in this state is defined as murder accompanied by aggravating circumstances. And certainly a kidnapping is an aggravated circumstance. And I hear a lot of mothers tell me what a good child their child is. And quite often I have to unfortunately tell the same mothers and fathers that your child was a good child. But that's when he was a child. And my heart goes out to the Rowland family, as well as the Josephson's family. My heart goes out to someone from the same part of the state that I'm from. You know, you participate in sports, and at East Clarendon, I presume you played basketball against C.E. Murray, did you? My high school. So I take no joy whatsoever. When I looked at the map that was shown to the jury, the telephone towers, when the officer witness testified that there's another tower over here, the map showed that that tower is in King Street, where my chambers are. So this is painful, but not nearly as painful as the suffering by the Josephson family. Is there anything you would like to say?
Okay, the monster is going to speak. So I'm going to put this on normal speed. Let's hear what the monster has to say. The dusty lowlife shall speak.
Your Honor, I know I'm innocent. But I guess what I know and what I think really doesn't matter. I just wish the state would have done more in finding out who the actual person was, instead of being satisfied with detaining me and proving my guilt. I feel like if they would have done further research in certain areas,
That's all I know.
And I've sentenced a number.
Ladies and gentlemen, you hear this BS he said? Just gonna deny it to the end, huh? All the evidence stacked against you. Mountains of evidence. But you didn't do it. It was someone else, right? They took your car. Because I think his story was he passed out, knocked out sleep, and somebody took his vehicle and did all of this. I don't know. This is crazy. All right, it's about to wrap up here. And resume.
Of murderers, many of whom have confessed, and I asked them, tell me about the murder. Tell me about the time you pulled the trigger. And I have yet to have one who could go back there. Everyone, each of them, have blotted the whole thing out of their mind as if it never occurred. And they can't take their mind back there sufficient to tell me. And I imagine they live in torment the rest of their days because they can't. The evidence in this case was, I chose the word an avalanche of evidence, and now I've seen it repeated a few times. I've heard it repeated. But the evidence in this case was so overwhelming. Law enforcement in this case did the best job of investigating a case that I have seen over the past 30 or 40 years. Every law enforcement officer that was available participated, apparently, in working in this case. And if there were 1,000 roads, each road led to you. There's 1,000 trails, each trail led to you. All of the evidence, every speck of the evidence, not simply beyond a reasonable doubt, but as high a standard as the law requires, all points to your guilt. And I am absolutely satisfied. I can certainly understand the family being in total disbelief that the child that they raised could do such a heinous thing, could commit such a murder. And I have dealt with the heartless, and you fall into that category. A person without any remorse whatsoever. A person who is totally emotionless, and in the law we call it a depraved heart. And it would be absolutely astonishing, amazing to me for the truth to be that you have engaged in this activity all of a sudden. That there are not signs that your family can point to, that your friends can point to, where if some intervention had taken place, this young lady would have been protected. I don't know that. But as much as your mom feels in the bottom of her soul or pit of her stomach about you, I feel that same thing based on my experience and based on my observing you and witnessing the evidence in this case. So I want to thank the jury for your focus on this case. I noticed that you all were totally engaged and tuned. Thank you very much on behalf of the citizens of Richland County and the citizens of the state of South Carolina. And South Carolina is a wonderful state, a lovely place. And people from all over the country, particularly the Northeast, choose South Carolina because of its beauty and charm and people, and Columbia, for all of the same reasons. Because we live in such a wonderful state, such a diverse state, where there are opportunities for everyone, and certainly opportunities for you. And for you to have attended South Carolina State University, if your parents have given you as much as they gave you, and for you then, your life story to end right here at this point in time. Of course, your life story doesn't end, but this is certainly a stop along the way. It's a tragedy. And whatever tragedy that causes these demons to reside within your soul and spirit, I don't know. Maybe at one point in time, since this is not a death penalty case, they can be exorcised out of you. Mr. Goldberg made his closing argument and talked about, in the end, the consequences that would have had to exist in order for this not to be you. That someone would have had to steal your car, steal your car keys, kidnap Samantha, kill her with your tool, then bury her in your home territory, then miraculously get the car back to you in time for you to go to the ATM in Sumter and here in Columbia, then turn over your car back to you with all the blood throughout it, all of Samantha's blood except for several teaspoons, and the story goes on and on. The evidence is so substantial in this case, pointing to your guilt. And I emphasize that and re-emphasize it because of the horrific and most brutal nature of this crime. It could not be worse. It's the most severe murder that has occurred that I have been a witness to as far as presiding in court or participating in as a lawyer. And for whomever asked me for leniency, that's not part of my DNA. You know, I have 2 daughters, one of whom sit in this seat more often than I do, and another of whom live in a city who have to encounter people on a daily basis. And I have sons. I would like to think I know my sons and my daughters very well. Certainly, I would be in disbelief if any of them were to find themselves standing in a spot like you. But even more so, the terror imposed on their child and the pain and grief that you've caused. She was an amazing person, an amazing human being, and the testimony is here. And she obviously put up an amazing fight against you and left a sufficient trail for the jury to see what you did. Now, you're not a dumb person. You're not an unintelligent person. You have been educated, trained, and you have a degree of intelligence. You certainly have the ability to choose a different course. But there's no perfect crime. These days, with forensic evidence, your whole 24 hours was recreated almost minute by minute, mile by mile, digit by digit. That's led you here, and you've now been found guilty. And sentencing in this case is not difficult. The sentence in this case is easy, though painful it may be. The sentence of the court for murder is that you be committed to the State Department of Corrections for life. Any other sentence that can be imposed will be concurrent with life. Since you only have one life, that sentence must be served for the remaining days of your natural life. That's the sentence of the court. If you remove Mr. from the courtroom, Mr. Rowland. Just as a comment regarding Mr. Rowland being able to interact with his family during the trial, first, he was chained. We would never let a person who's incarcerated roam freely. He was chained and guarded by law enforcement. But I believe in the presumption of innocence. And for a person not to be punished prior to conviction. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for a job well done. Thank you for the manner in which all of you have acted in the courtroom.
Okay, that's the end of that clown. All right, I just wanted to show you this news clip, if you don't mind hanging for a second. If not, I understand one thing, because we've been here forever. Oh my gosh, forever. All right, let me show this clip real quick. Beautiful girl. Beautiful. Died by the hands of a dusty lowlife. All you was doing was out with your friends, college night, you know. What they do, they go meet each other, they hang out at the bars, have some drinks, have some appetizers, you know, all that good stuff. You know what we did in college, you know, the fun stuff, right? But this one decided to come around. All right. I want to show this clip here, this news clip with the parents. Yep. Let's watch this clip here. All right, let's get it. Now, this clip is before he had the stroke. Your son gave you a stroke, Dad. He gave you a stroke. Resume.
Safety pledge after the kidnapping and murder of a student. The body of 21-year-old Samantha Josephson was found in Clarendon County Friday afternoon. Earlier that morning, police say she'd called for an Uber, but then got into a vehicle that was not an Uber. The moment was captured on surveillance footage in Columbia's Five Points district, right outside Bird Dog Bar there. And you can see that Impala pulling up, and then she gets inside it, and she could not escape. Columbia police say the child locks were engaged, and there's that final moment. Police say the driver of the car is this man, Nathaniel Rowland. He is now charged with murder and kidnapping. Columbia police say they found Josephson's blood and cell phone in Rowland's car, but now the suspect's parents are speaking out.
They say someone else was driving the car that night and that their son is innocent. Reporter Brian Monte sat down with them for an emotional interview.
You made this thing so bad. I want to know if you did this thing and tell me. That's all I want to know. Tell me the doggone truth.
A tearful plea from Henry Rowland, the father of accused killer Nate Rowland. His parents say they were shocked to learn their youngest child is now charged in the death of Samantha Josephson, whose body was found less than 3 miles from their home. Nate's mother, Loretta, says her son is innocent.
He is a very good young man. And when I talked to him, and I talked to him yesterday, and he told me, he said, that wasn't him, and I believe him. He said, that's not him.
The couple's other son says Nate was not in the car that surveillance video shows the USC student getting into.
My son was telling me that Nate passed out at a house party.
Yeah.
He checked his pockets when he woke up. He checked his pockets, he didn't have his keys. So he walked outside to try to find his vehicle. He found the vehicle, opened the door, seen his keys, and seen all the blood inside the vehicle.
The family is not allowed to visit Nate, but this is what his father wants him to know.
But if you didn't do it, I'm all out for you. You ain't got to worry about it. I'm behind you 100%. And I know he told me, he told my wife he didn't do it. And I know my wife ain't gonna lie about something like that. So I'm behind him 100%. But I can tell you one thing, my son is innocent. And I know that from the bottom of my heart.
Now, this story is prompting a big discussion about ride-sharing safety. The USC president, Harris Pastides, sent a letter to students on Monday and urged them to take extra safety measures when using a ride-share service. He says riders should double-check to make sure that the car and the driver match what you see on the app. The pictures come up right there on the app. And they should ask the driver, "What's my name?" to make sure it's the right person picking them up. They should know your name when you ask them. President Pastides says he wants to spread the message to other schools across the country and not just to students at USC. Now, Samantha Josephson's death prompted a state lawmaker to file a proposed bill to make things safer for people who use Uber and Lyft. He says he hopes the bill shows that he and other lawmakers are doing whatever they can to try to make sure something like this doesn't happen again.
Fox Carolina's Jennifer Phillips is live in Greenville with more on what this proposal is all about.
Hey, Cody. State Representative Seth Rose, who represents Richland County and the Five Points area where Samantha Josephson got into that car, introduced the bill, and he says he really does believe it will help save lives. Take a look. If this proposal becomes law, then the bill would require ride-sharing companies like Uber and Lyft to place illuminated stickers or what's called beacons in their windshields of their vehicles. Representative Rose says there are other cities and states in the country that have already placed this mandate on ride-sharing companies. He says because the session is so quickly coming to an end, which ends in May, he plans to introduce the bill without reference, meaning he will ask lawmakers to skip subcommittees and push the proposed bill straight to the House floor for a vote. We talked to Michelle Pickens, an Uber driver here in Greenville. She's not necessarily opposed to the idea, but wonders if she would have to pay for that illuminated sticker. She says there are some other ways to ensure riders' safety.
This bill is going to be named the Samantha Josephson Ride Sharing Safety Act. Additionally, it'll have to be a light that comes from the companies themselves. So this isn't going to be, oh, let me go buy something at the store.
And I'd have the driver roll down the window, hold that phone up, look at that picture to make sure the person that's standing in front of you is the right person. As a rider, you get the picture of your driver, you get a description of the vehicle, and you get the tag number.
Columbia police found Samantha Josephson's body in a field in Clarendon County, which is about an hour outside of Columbia. Investigators arrested Nathaniel Rowland, as you just saw, and charged him with murder. They say Josephson mistakenly got into his car and thought it was an Uber. Now, coming up at 5, find out what some of you are saying and how this proposal
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of it. I want to show that clip because I want you to, to hear the parents and the denial that the parents have. And now after sitting in the courtroom, watching all the testimony, you're hearing the prosecution, you hear the defense, you see all the mountains of evidence. You really believe that bullcrap story that your son told you? You really believe it, huh? Okay, you're in denial. You're totally in denial. Just face the fact. Your kid is a monster. It happens. Everybody, every time you have a child, not all child is born good. Some children just born evil. It is what it is. And it's not your fault. You didn't do nothing wrong. Your child's just evil. But when you sit there and you condone it and you support it, or you in denial when it's clear as day that your child did it, that's when I question you. There's something wrong with you as a parent. Either you're just as evil or you just don't care. You don't have no remorse or empathy, and that's not good. And that's probably why your child turned out the way that they did. It is what it is. But thank everybody for being here for hours. But we wrapped up this whole trial here. Say my name. Remember to tell the Uber driver, say my name. Exactly. And Holly says that should have been like that from the beginning. Exactly. And she probably, had some drinks and she just wasn't really thinking clearly. You have some drinks or smoking weed. You don't, when you're under the influence of anything, you just not think 100% clearly. But she didn't deserve to go out like that. And I feel so sorry for the boyfriend because this monster took away, his future. His potential future wife, potential future mother of his children and everything. He took it away. Yep, so sad. All right, so that's the end of this one. I'll be showing them more of this monster and everything. But thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging. I enjoy it. And good night. Good night to you, Holly, and good night to everyone. And also, for everybody here, thank you for sharing your personal things and stuff here in the chat. That makes it feel good to know that you feel comfortable enough to open up with certain things, here. I appreciate it. And we're going to have a moment of silence. Melanie said, thank you, Donna, for a great, great treat. And thanks, chat, and great conversation. All right, we're going to have a moment of silence for this beautiful lady. Moment of silence. And prayers and blessings to everyone in the chat.